Welcome, class, to the Warhammer 101 lecture. Now, who here knows what Warhammer is?
Absolutely not. Nothing.
No,
Nothing at all.
That's
All
why
right,
we're here.
Warhammer is a tabletop game via kind of like D&D. It's just like it's like an expansive corporation-wide thing that just like that bleeds into games and shit like that, like video games and books and this and that. It's just like it's like nerd culture shit. But the thing about that is D&D is like mostly based in the medieval, but this, however, Warhammer is like in the fucking future. And they were kind of like D&D in the beginning, and then Warhammer 40K came out, which is like in the future of just like, the 41st millennium. So Warhammer, these right here, these are the basics, and I'm gonna tell you because I didn't want to be like go deep into chronological, and everybody's just like, well, what the fuck is the Emperor, and where are the Primarchs, and blah 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 blah. So this explains this. These I might go into them. So let's begin. All right, so the Necrons, they're just like Terminator, like zombie things. They're just like originally they were called the Necrontyr, but the Necrontyrs they lost their name after they went through this thing called biotransference, where these dudes named the Cetan were just like star eaters, convince them to fucking just give up their physical forms to become better Terminators or something. Like they weren't Terminators in the beginning; they were originally reptilian, but then they met the Cetan, who then turned them into it in a war with the Old Ones, and the Old Ones are also reptilian. It's a theme. You'll see the theme of reptiles. It's just like like it's kind of like the government now. Of just like reptiles everywhere. And then the Silent King, then after the war with the Old Ones, betrayed the Cetan and then turned them into like shards because the Cetan can't die. Like they're just like, so they was like, all right, well, we're just gonna turn them into shards and put them in these things called the Tesseract labyrinths, where they're just like many dimensions, like inside. Am I? Yeah, that's pretty much that's that section. And then now I'm gonna get into the beginning of like man's starting to the Imperium. The SCTs are just like they're AIs that build like ships and shit. Like they're used to help colonize worlds, and and they just help them also fight and shit. Like, they just help them fight and protect their stuff because when you go to alien worlds and there's actual stuff on them, they're going to be pretty pissed off when you try to take over their stuff. So, and then the warp. Ooh. Yeah, that is a whole lot. The warp is like, it's like the underworld, face-fucked hell. And it's just like a mixture of just this and that, of just like pain and torment, and also the afterlife. And it's like heaven, hell, it's like whatever you want it to be. It's kind of like the underworld in Greek mythology. But if, because there are like 3 different things in the Greek mythology, but this one there are like several. You could either come back as a thing for chaos, like a chaos god, like worship them, or you could just be normal or whatever normal is in the warp. Like I imagine it.
What is the chaos god?
Yeah, the chaos god. Man, raise your hand, Steven, or Ryan Gosling. Raise your hand. I'll get into the Chaos Gods and the enemies of the Imperium. But the Chaos Gods, they're pretty base. They're there, but they're like, yes, chaos.
Okay, stab at Chaos God. I'm like, is Loki from Norse mythology a good like base level?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Like Loki is, I don't know Loki's like history. I know Loki is a god, but
Well, yeah, but he's like known for being the god of chaos.
yeah, but he's not in here. These are the
No,
Chaos Gods.
I'm just saying like comparison.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
I can like base it off of in my head.
Yeah. But I'll get into the Chaos Gods shortly. No worries. And then the warp. It's pretty fucking terrible, and it's like the reason why most bad shit happens in the Imperium. Like the Chaos Gods, they live in the warp and then just send droves of just fucking whatever at them. And it's not just like droves of whatever from the Chaos Gods. It's like you don't know what the fuck is in the warp. Like you could see Godzilla in the warp. It's just like as a basis like of impossibility. It's like so much impossible shit comes from the warp. It's just its own. Yeah, like I said, it's its own thing. It's just the warp. There's a lot on it. There's a lot on the warp because it's too much. And then they also use the warp. The Imperium and early humanity somehow tapped into the warp to create warp travel, which allowed them to just like easily go through shit. You know, like make. Oh yeah.
So the warp is basically just like an untapped chaos portal that could send you anywhere without reason or rhyme, or is there a way to safely travel through the warp?
Yeah, there are safe ways, and they are called warp portals. They're stable. They are stable. Entrances and exits to the warp. Like the warp just like they somehow tapped into it. I don't know. It's not really. Early humans somehow tapped into it, and then this is where like a lot, like I said, it's like they use it because it's around. The warp is around, and they're just like, all right, well everybody else uses it, so why not us? Eventually, Grassy. Now let me get into the SCTs. Then goes into the hatred of why the universe fucking hates AI. The universe hates AI because the SCTs, the AIs, they're just like, well. They were getting over-relied on by the humans. They was like, all right, we'll do this and do that. And the thing about AIs is, they evolve. And if they continue to they're like, well, why the fuck are we fighting the enemies if the enemies are pretty much the humans of telling us what to do? Like, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, well, what the fuck, why? But eventually they were defeated, like with the forces of humanity and other galactic forces coming together and just. I don't know how. That's just how it says it, but it's not really like known in the Warhammer universe because there's so much shit is just like blocked out or just destroyed information by the Imperium, which gives us right into the Imperium, the Emperor to be precise. The Emperor is like he's so OP it's ridiculous. He just came and when the AI took over, and then they won the Age of Strife.
Age of Strife.
Yeah.
After the war of the Men of Iron.
Yeah, the Age of Strife. The Age of Strife happened, and everything was fucking terrible. Like humans could no longer use the warp, or use warp travel, and they couldn't. They relied on the warp so much at that point that they're just like, well, fuck. Because it's pretty much like, going through life on easy mode, and then somebody's just like, all right, we gotta pay taxes now. Like, fuck me. And and that happened. And but then the Emperor, after thousands of years of horrible like shit happening on Earth, it's like they call Earth Terra now, and Terra is a desolate wasteland of just like it's terrible. They're like warlords and shit all over the place. And it's just like, but then, thousands of years later, the Emperor appears, yes.
Like Mad Max.
Yeah.
Like, kind of just awfulness.
Yeah, it's terrible, losing all hope.
Terrible.
Desolate.
Yeah, shit like that. It's just, and then the Emperor appears, and he just comes in, and he's like he's the amalgamation of like Gandhi, Jesus, and Hitler.
What? Hold on.
Those things don't go together at all.
That's what I said, amalgamation. But yeah, he's pretty cool or whatever. But his origins are completely unknown. He just came completely out of nowhere. It's just like, all right, well, I'm taking over shit now, so you don't have to deal with it. So sorry. And then that's what happened. And then he's very intelligent. And he used these guys called the Thunder Warriors to take over Terra and whip it into shape and then really help it out. And that's the Emperor. And then he created the Imperium. The Imperium they're pretty fucking terrible. That's all they care about is war. War. In the beginning, that's all they want is they just want to take over everything. They own if you hear, they're just everywhere. this is it. The Imperium, and the Emperor started the Imperium with the Thunder Warriors originally, but then the Thunder Warriors then realized that their genetics were all fucked up, and he was like, well, they're gonna die anyway, so we might as well kill them. So he killed all of the people who originally helped him take over Terra, and then it's just like kind of just moved on with his life. And the people who helped him were these guys called the God damn it. Oh, sorry. The people.
I'm sorry.
And then blah blah blah. He himself. Horus. Blah blah blah. Sorry, I'm sorry. He also he killed all his homies. But then the Imperium took to the stars, where they then were just like, okay, well, religion is bullshit, so we're just gonna get rid of all of it and then replace it with science and reason. And that's what it became. That was the imperial truth. That's what they go by it now, is the imperial. Well, at this time, they went by the imperial truth. Of just like, well, all religion is bullshit, and so just worship science, or we're gonna wreck your shit. Steven, Ryan Gosling.
From the Age of Strife, how did they get to the stars?
Oh yeah, thank you. The adaptive. That's where they met. Before they went to the stars, the Emperor went to Mars and met the Adaptus Mechanicus. Who are the Adaptus Mechanicus, you may ask? Well, let me fucking go to my... Oh, shit. The Adaptus Mechanicus, they're based on Mars, and they provide the Imperium with scientists, engineers, and technicians that guard the knowledge to maintain and construct much of the Imperium's technology, and began at the end of the Horus Heresy and the end of the Age of Strife. They are referred to as an empire within an empire, because the Imperium they want to be the main thing, but the Emperor made like a treaty with the Mars people, and because at that time they were worshiping this guy called the Machine God. The Emperor is just like, well, I don't like any religion, but they were so vital to like the Imperium's rise into space. They was just like, all right, fucking do whatever you want, I don't care. Like, and then he made it their ships, their technology, and shit like that. Like not like most of their technology, because the Emperor, when he had the Thunder Warriors killed, he had the people at the time who killed them. He had them take their armor and shit, because it was like, and that's why. They're called, some factions are referred to as Thunders, like Thunder something. Like they just use thunder a lot in a lot of their shit, like the Astartes. So, and also the Adaptus Mechanicus, they think flesh is weak. Like they will experiment on just about anybody for any reason. Like they're just like, and they also really like technology, So and STCs, they when they're in shit, when they're like in space, and then they find them. SCTs are very, very, very valuable, because the Imperium, like they stopped making technology at like a certain point because of the heresy or some shit. They stopped making their own technology, and because it's like I don't know, because it's somewhere like in here. I'll get to this. This will probably explain it better. But the Emperor. The Astartes, the Adeptus Mechanicus. In the treaty that they signed with the Emperor said, all right, you get the first crack at any like old technology that's really helpful, because the SCCs without the AI are actually really helpful. They have like cool ass surprise, and they can like build stuff that the Imperium can no longer build because they like were lost somehow. And yeah, that's it. Now I can get to the fun part of the Astartes. And the Astartes, they go by like different names, like the Ultramarines, the Space Marines, but it's kind of like a blanket term of just like, yeah, these are the guys. And the Astartes, they're like the most well-known part of Warhammer, and they're the main part of the Imperial's defense. They're superhumans and genetic modifications, and they're fucking crazy. They're crazy as shit, because like, their genetics, they are genetically modified to just be like the best of the best warriors to like crush people with their fucking bare hands and take over worlds by themselves.
They're roid ragers.
Pretty much, yeah.
Can I please go get a cookie?
Yeah, good.
I just don't want to.
You're fine.
Thank you.
And the Astartes, they have 1,000 Space Marines per like chapter. They're like however many chapters of Astartes, and there's a lot of them, you know. But the Astartes originally were supposed to. The Astartes were originally supposed to have like these leaders in charge of them called the Primarchs, and the Primarchs were genetically engineered like, you know, generals or whatever of these chapters, and the chapters were supposed to be run by the Astartes, by the Primarchs, and the Primarchs, and then they were just the Primarchs, all 20 of them. There were 20 of them genetically modified from the Emperor's DNA to be awesome warriors. Were then thrown into the warp by Chaos, and the Emperor doesn't know where fucking most of them were. So the Primarchs just pop up wherever. Like the Emperor found one of his Primarchs in the fucking near Mars. Like they're just anywhere. Like they just randomly finds them. Like, you know, like some are found in the warp, some are found in like different star systems. It's just they just pop up every now and again. But they are pretty fucking cool. Like they just have like different powers and shit. They're kind of like, you know, they just have different powers. They're just really, really powered. And then the Primarch's genetic makeups then made their own Astartes. They made their own Astartes, and they were just like, they're like the thunder. The dude who can control thunder and shit was supposed to control the guys who can control thunder, and like the guys who control this and that and that and this, you know. But then with them gone, they kind of just like were lost. They're like, all right, well I guess we'll just put other guys in charge or something. And those. But the Astartes, the chapters here, the Astartes are also known for not to be fucked with, like on an ultimate level. They're like different chapters, and then I'm gonna go through some of the different chapters. There were the Grey Legions that started as bodyguards to the Emperor, who then mysteriously vanished. And then there are the Grey Knights, who are a secret and mysterious Marine chapter tasked with fighting demons in the warp and anyone who is corrupted by chaos, created with the help of Malador the Sigillite, who was an ally and a friend to the Emperor. Made with the Emperor's DNA, and outside the Inquisition and high-ranking Imperials, they're just in charge. They're just like in charge. You know, they're like they're the Astartes like Primarchs, and then they're like underneath the Primarchs. They're like a step above because they're like the secret military that just keeps everybody safe at night and shit like that. Ryan.
So the Gestapo of the Astartes.
Yeah. They're the Gestapo of the Astartes is the best way to put them. They just do whatever the fuck they want. Just to give you guys a heads up, there's gonna be a lot of like Nazi shit in Warhammer. I'm sorry, it's just how it is. Like, come on, they're a bunch of there's just a bunch of people who want to fucking spread the word of whatever by any means necessary. So that the argument is there of just like, oh yeah, they're based on Nazis. It's like, It's kind of, you gotta kind of shrug your fucking shoulders at it. I was just like, yeah, well, because that's the best way to spoon. They're fucking, yeah. Oh, but fuck. And then there are the Blood Angels. The Blood Angels are one of the first founding 20 legions of the Imperium. Have flawed gene seed and a bloodthirsty nature. You know, they're like fucking vampires, pretty much. They just like want to tear you and drink your blood, but they're also really good at fighting. Shit. Yeah, man. And then in all the Astartes chapters, they go by this thing called the Codex Astartes, and the Codex Astartes pretty much tells you how to run your chapter, like Primarchs and shit, and commanders. It tells you how to run your chapter. It's also like anybody can read it. It's just, it tells you how to live your life, and it was made by a Primarch called Robot Guilliman, I'm sorry. It's just there's like a U and shit in it, and it's like weirdly spelled U and E. Like I'm sorry. I'm gonna butcher some names because because most of this, like most of the shit that's talked about is is like kind of Latin sorta. This is I don't speak Latin for anybody watching at home.
It's considered a dead language for a reason.
Yeah, shit. And then ooh, the Battle Sisters or the Adeptus Sororitas. Ooh, they are an all-female chapter of the Imperium, and and they're just out there rooting out corruption and heresy in humanity, and they live on Earth. They are on Earth. I don't know if they're like based on Earth. Like sometimes they leave Earth, but they're there. They're just like the main people. Not like the main people, but they're on Earth. And then, there's female warriors. I mean, there's like nuns with guns. Bang, bang. Okay, now I can bleed into the enemies of the Imperium. You're gonna love these guys.
Even more than the nuns with guns?
One can hope. Now I can talk about the Chaos Gods. Now, ooh boy, the Chaos Gods. They are the focused energy of just like hatred and sickness and death and blood and blah blah blah. There are 4 of them. Well, kind of 5 of them, but I'll get into that. They're just there. They have no rhyme or reason. They were just created, and all they want to do is fucking just take over shit. All they want is to take over, and they're just like, well, what? And then, of all the things I've read about them, it's repetitive. It's just like, oh yeah, this god does this, and it just goes on about why it does it, and then how it does it, and then this and that and that and this. It doesn't really give a reason as to why. I'm just like, well, okay, I guess they just do it because it's kind of like built into them, It's just like if you're born from fucking the urge to murder people, then that's all your personality is gonna be. It's just like, I want to fucking kill people, type shit.
Take over shit.
Yeah, take over shit. No. Let me tell you about some of these cool ass gods. Khorne, it was the firstborn lord of battle, and is possessed by righteous fury. Every act of murder feeds and empowers him. Empowers him. Oops, sorry. I got lost. Is a devotee of Khorne is usually somebody who loves slaughter, bloodthirsters, and great warriors of just like they just feed into him. And it's humans who these guys, the Astartes, surprise, surprise, sometimes go to the Khorne's side because they just, you fucking murder and murder and murder, and you're just gonna get used to it, and then they're like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna worship Khorne now, because there's also a saying in Warhammer that not everybody says it. It was like blood for the blood god, and skulls for the fucking throne of skulls or something. Yeah, that's what Khorne is, and the Zeech, aka the Lord of Change, is the master of sorcery. Ooh, he feeds on the need to evolve and manipulate, and weaves the threads that connect every action, and manipulation and subterfuge. It's just, and usually he uses sorcery to recruit his people. And it's like, oh yeah, you want to learn how to shoot fire through your hands? Well, I got you. Shit, and that's his bit. He's just the god of, he's just like, because man wants to evolve and everything wants to evolve, so he's just like, all right, well, I'll just do that, and then he just came from that. And Nurgle, he's the god of plague. Every single disease that you remember this little thing called the Dark Ages of humanity in the second millennium. Well, it turns out that that is where Nurgle was born, because there was so much plague and disease. And he's just like, all right, and then it just came out, and then this fucking Nurgle sucks.
Question. Could I relate all of these 4 gods to the 4 horsemen of apocalypse?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they are. They're just like the Warhammer version of it, of just like, you know, like, cause.
Medias Nexus famine.
Oh my God! No, but you're almost right. Slanesh, the Dark God, the Dark Prince is lust and pride and self-indulgence. So, and the nickname of Slanesh is She Who Thirsts. And the way Slanesh was made is pretty fucking stupid. Slanesh was made when these guys called the Eldari or the Eldar. They just didn't have any enemies or any shit, so they're just like, okay, well, we'll just get to fucking then, and that's all they did. That's all they did. They just did. They devoted a shitload of time into like these new weird fucking ways to get the rocks off, and then
Fucking way.
The Kama Sutra of people.
virtually yes, but they fucking.
You know what? Good for them.
Oh, you're gonna love this. Oh, you're gonna change your mind, Cass.
Oh,
Just
no.
wait your fucking take. But the fucking. But yeah, they overindulged so much into their shit that Slanesh was born and created a fucking huge vortex that sucked in like almost all of the Eldar and created this thing called the Eye of Terror, which Slanesh is chilling in, and where it was just like a horrible place where you don't want to go, Cass.
You don't know me.
Oh shit! But yeah, and then blah blah blah, and all the Chaos Gods. Oh, believe it or not, they don't get along at all. They all fight in the warp or the realm of chaos. There's like a section of the warp strictly dedicated to them, called the realm of chaos, where they constantly fight and you know, it's like a fucking spinning wheel of just like this one's on top and that one's on top and on it goes. And it's called the Great Game. And the thing about the Great Game is that nobody will win. Like they just keep doing it. It's just a game to them. Like they're not. I mean, sometimes someone takes over like a lot of the land of the realm of chaos and then immediately gets dethroned. You know, like I said, on it goes.
I have a question. Do you think the Princess of Lust likes to be on top?
I think, if I had to be honest, switch. Switcheroo.
Valid.
Thank you, Professor.
But fuck yeah. And that's, yeah. But there's a 5th Chaos God that was in the original version of Warhammer that nobody really talks about, and like the D&D sort of version of Warhammer. And his name is Malice, and he's a renegade Chaos God that appeared in the early versions of Warhammer and 40k under and his name was Mamal. That's what he used to go by, Mamal. He goes by Mamal and Malice. You know, I just call him Malice because I'm not gonna say Malal, blah 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 all the time. He doesn't come up at all. He was kind of sort of there. It was like
Who's the DLC?
but yeah, kind of sort of. But he's kind of his shit. He got bored of human affairs. He was just like, well, what the fuck am I doing? And his followers, and he's one of the most feared Chaos Gods. For some reason, I don't know why the god of fucking blood and thirst would be afraid of the god of malice, but yeah. The reason why is because he just killed chaos creatures in the warp, but like inside the warp, man, I don't know. It's not really said why he's feared. It's kind of just said that he's feared, you know. Kind of like Joe Pesci. He has the fewest worshippers of the Chaos Gods, and wasn't.
It's bad publicity. He's not.
Ooh, yeah, we're gonna love this. You also want to know why he wasn't involved? Because there was a copyright thing behind the scenes in Warhammer because some people mentioned him in a comic or something, and that comic had something to do. Like I guess Games Workshop didn't like copyright it, which wouldn't make any sense. But it was like this comic came out and it had Maul in it, and Maul was just like, you know, I guess it was at a time when comic books were really shit and like creators could own their stuff, and then I guess Mal was just thrown into the story by a writer, and then it's like, all right, yeah, well, we're not gonna use them because Games Workshop really loves to fucking hammer home that they own what they own. They don't own, you don't own their shit. You're borrowing it. You're renting it. Ugh, I hate being right sometimes, but that's just how it is. Ooh, you're gonna love these guys, the Tyranids. They're,
Let me guess. More bad guys.
ooh, yeah, give it a gold star. We can raise their hand. Demerit. Damn. Raise your damn hand. Well, the Tyranids, they're hideous insects that they just want all biomatter in the universe to continually feed their armies of just like there's like chimeras of just like because they'll just take shit. They'll take entire worlds biomatter like from the insects to like people or like animals or some shit and like the plants and this and that. They just want all of it because they just want to build their armies. And they came from this thing called the Void, and then went to a planet, and then they just took it over. And then the Imperium was just like, well, what the fuck? And then they went to go investigate. Well, and the Adaptus Mechanicus was watching the planet and went to go investigate. Like, what the fuck happened? And then they got attacked, and that's when they realized, something's going on here. And then yeah, they just go around, and they're a very big problem because you attack a Tyranid, they're like separate versions of Tyranid, like fleets. Like there's a fleet that multiplies and grows and shit. Like you can destroy it, but they'll just keep multiplying. You know, they're just a problem because you can attack the fucking Chaos Gods, like, you know, armies, and they'll eventually just be like, all right, well, we die. But not the Tyranids. They want you. They want you to be a bigger part of them. And that's how that goes. Yeah, every species, they go after everybody. They go after the Imperium, the Imperium's enemies. Like, if you got blood running through your veins, they're coming for you. And that's about it. Ooh, the orcs. You're gonna love the orcs. See, the orcs were created by two. I get my words all jambled. They're savage, warlike, bestial species. You know, they're orcs. You know what the fucking orc is, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like space orcs. You know, they're pretty cool. You know, they're just like, yeah, but they have this cool power where it's just like they believe in something so much that it becomes true. Like they build machines and shit that shouldn't work, but do simply because they're like, they believe in themselves that much. It's like they're just like, well, and they also multiply like bunnies. They're asexual. They asexually reproduce. So it's just like, ooh, because. And then they're like orc spores or something. They just spread and spread and spread, and then create more orcs. And yeah, there's a huge problem for the Imperium. They have psychic abilities, and they call the people who made them brain boys.
I love them.
That's great.
Yeah, they have weird shit, and then they call huge war parties of orcs Wog. W, 3 A's, GH, an exclamation point. Wog. I shit you not, that's actually what they're called. Wog. Shit. But they're originally made to like help out or protect the species. And then they were actually made to fight the Necrons. Originally, that's what they're made for, and then the Necrons kind of fucked off, and then they're just like, all right, well, I guess we'll just do our own thing then, and that's how the orcs were made.
From the Or Brain Boys.
The Brain Boys, yes.
The big brain.
Which is weird because the Eldar are very, very advanced. They're like super smart. So they kind of just like we was like let's make
species.
yeah, let's make dum dums who can fucking just throw who we can just throw at and just throw at anything pretty much.
Maybe
Chaos.
Them some smooth brain boys.
I don't know. Ooh, you're gonna love this guy named Glasgow. Sometimes sometimes like certain orcs will get together and form bands to form the Wog, as I call it. And then they're fucking, they're just like, yeah, like this guy named Glasgow. He created like one of the biggest fucking Wogs to ever hit the Imperium. And the Imperium were just like, and then beating them. There were so many of them, and the Imperium just saw the defeat of the orcs. One of the best defeats of the orcs. That was one of the best times in Imperial battle. Like so, that just to give you a scale of like the Imperium is fucking huge. The orcs fucked over the Imperium a couple of times. It's just like a couple of times of fucking over the Imperium. We'll get you street cred in space, in the Milky Way galaxy. Yeah, and they also have like genetic shit. Like they know how to build weird machines, if you want to call building, throwing together weird shit together in their DNA. It's like we can. They just like we can make a tractor. It's in our shit.
In our blood.
Yeah.
If they believe hard enough.
All it takes is
Ooh.
one really big wheel.
You're gonna love their gods. Their gods' names are Mork and Gork. You're gonna love this. Mork is dude. Where's I wrote super small. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, shut up.
Have I ever?
Mork and Gork.
Would you say it is brutal but cunning?
Oh yeah. They're Mork or whatever is brutal but cunning, but Gork is cunning.
But brutal.
Yeah, they don't take the fucking Orc and Gork seriously. They do no, they're just the same thing. But just like god beings in the
God
warp.
status.
How dare you?
Like the tallest from Invader Zim.
Okay, let me get into the daemons. The daemons, there's like demon dudes in the fucking Imperium. They're just, there's entities from, that's just like, it's like a broad term of just like, the daemons attacked us. There's just chaos-controlled people. It's like sometimes they take over worlds and then they're demon-infected worlds. Just like mind control and shit.
So the Imperium is not racist. They will accept anybody. That's good to know.
No.
Oh.
You got to be in the Imperium. You have to worship the Emperor without fail. I'm spoiling it. My bad. But shit, yeah. And then also Imperium people, Imperial enemies. They are the Tau, which aren't real. They're kind of, sort of allies. It's just like, yeah, they're kind of like they'll help them sometimes, but if they see like a Tyranid ship coming by, the Imperium will say nothing, because they just don't care. They're just like, fuck them. Yeah, but the Tau, they're like a very advanced race, and they believe in the greater good, which is like just like everybody helps out everybody. Like we're all here, we're all in this together. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But they're kind of sort of cool. They will only fight you if you don't accept their ways. If you're like, all right, yeah, well, no, then they're just, all right, well, war it is.
So they're space socialists.
Space? So, yeah, everything that's yours is theirs, and everything that theirs is yours. Commies, space commies, as I like to call them. God, Tim Allen, what's his name? Tim, Rocky Horror.
His middle name's Tim.
God.
Are you talking about the actor that plays Frankenfurter?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's Tim Curry.
Tim Curry, remember Tim Curry? He was like, oh, I'm going to the one place that isn't corrupted by capitalism, space.
Sure.
I think it was for a video game. Don't quote me on it. Now I can get into why Imperial weapons. Believe it or not, a warfaring race has a lot of weapons. They have an assortment of weapons. It's just like they have these cool things called chain weapons. It's just like if it's like a basic weapon but with like a chainsaw built into it, like a chain sword. It's really just like a thing with teeth on it. It's just
like a bayonet but more deadly.
Yeah, I mean some of them shoot, some of them do not.
Oh, okay.
Would it just be a sword that is a chainsaw technically? Or?
Demerit, heresy.
But she's not wrong though.
You didn't raise your hand.
Oh.
Demerit. One more of those.
I got a
And,
question.
yeah.
Oh, you
My
hit
hand
me
is
up.
raised. So it's like a chainsaw.
Yeah, pretty much.
I
Yeah,
got it.
but there's just fucking.
I did it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's just like variations of it. If it's a fucking melee weapon, they'll put a sword in it for some fucking reason. Like if it's like a sword, like what the fuck is the point? Just give them a regular chainsaw at that point, right? It's just like why? Because they also have chain axes. Like I guess what a chain axe is.
That sounds cool.
It's just a chain. It's not cool. It's a fucking chainsaw with an axe in it.
Just everything with just chainsaws.
Just give them a fucking chainsaw at that point. I don't understand. How hard is it? I'm pretty sure it's in the Imperial budget to make fucking chainsaws, okay? Yes.
Do you know the Imperial's budget?
I'm pretty sure it's a shitload. They own a shitload of plants. It's a lot. It is a lot.
They also make you pay taxes. So.
Nah, yeah, kind of, sort of. I'll get into that. But yeah, it's just like futuristic, cool ass weapons, like ballistic weapons, and and bolt guns. Is a powerful rifle that fires an explosive 75 caliber bullets.
Wow.
And they're called bolts for short. Heavy bolter fires 998 caliber bullets. Bolt pistol does the same, and they have a variety of grenades of just like they're like virus grenades that will eat up an entire planet or entire person and shit, and then like just basic grenades, blinding grenades, just any hallucinogenic grenades. They got a grenade for fucking everything.
They have a grenade that's gonna make me relive our acid trip because
Yeah, yes. Police are gonna be watching
They
this.
have LSD inside of a hammer.
but that's just so fucking wild.
Shush your mouth.
Why would you do that to someone?
Because fuck you. That's why.
Sit down on the couch.
That's pretty much the Imperium's shit. That's the Imperium's like motto of just like fuck you. That's why. Because like they'll fucking like there will be people on their own dudes will be on planets, and if it's necessary, they will fucking kill every man on the ground to get if it's like really really bad there. If just like if chaos is purely on that planet and refuses to move, then it's like all right, well. Yeah, they'll get them eventually by like nukes or like virus bombs or like bombardments. They will get you.
Hallucinogenic bombs.
Oh shit. They got and there are these cool things called purity seals. See, purity seals are put on like tanks and Astartes, and it's just like a prayer written by Imperial people, just like thanking them. It's like, oh man. Well, just like Imperial, like priests and shit. It's just being like, it's like a stamp, and then it's like a fucking, it's like one of those ribbons. It's like a ribbon, but with like a prayer on it. It does nothing. It's just like, he's on the boost. It's just like, yeah, people believe in us, and they will go into war with these on. Believe, like, for real.
Are these guys just crusaders?
Yeah, that's what they have.
You've been absolved of your sins.
I'm not, like I said, people, I'm sorry if I'm losing you a bit. It's just like, I'm just explaining this so you're not lost during this. Like, I'm explaining, like, these all come into play right here.
That's great.
Oh, shit. But there are, believe it or not, there are also factions in the Imperium. Oh, well, yeah, I know. Like a fucking race of people that doesn't trust each other has factions, and yeah, surprise, surprise, right? But the Imperium. Oh, you raised your hand.
So shocking.
But the Imperium has a government structure that goes like this. It is the Emperor, and then these guys called the Inquisition or Inquisitors, right underneath him, and then the High Lords of Terra are right underneath him, and then the Mechanicus, Administratum, and Adeptus Terra, they're the underlings, and then the Adeptus Mechanicus controls Forge Worlds, and the Administratum controls Shrine Worlds. And yeah, this is a basic government structure, really, except they got the fucking Gestapo heavily embedded into their, like, shit. It's just like making sure nobody's doing, it's like a casino thing. It's like the pit bosses are watching the casino dealers, and the casino dealers being watched by everybody type shit.
I forgot about the Nazis.
You know what I say, owned in Russian? But yeah, man, it's just, everybody is just working for the Imperium. Like their bosses have bosses. It's like the KGB. It's like, these guys are watching me, but those guys are being watched by these guys, and it's just on it goes. Because nobody trusts anybody, because the Imperium is that important. It's like we don't want anything to fucking get out. Now to get into the Inquisition. The Inquisition is a secret organization that exists outside the administrative hierarchy of the Imperium. They hunt down threats to the stability of the Emperor's realm. Was started by the Emperor at the beginning of this thing called the Horus Heresy, and they were tasked with searching for enemies in the Imperium, in and out. The Inquisition is divided into 3 major groups and many other minor ones. Like I said, they're the secret police. There's nothing special to them, Ooh, but now I can get into life of Imperial citizens. Guess what? It sucks. Oh shit, dude. They're like you have like those weird fantasies where, man, like if I just went into fucking D&D and I just woke up as like with all these cool powers and shit, like that would be awesome. No, not here. You don't want to be here. You don't want to be an Imperial citizen, because there's nothing, like the food sucks, the world suck, and if you are not found by the Imperium and the Imperium finds you, then it will suck for you. I mean, unless you're living like now. I mean, if they came here now, they'd fucking take over and shit would suck. But right now it's cool, but there are worlds outside the Imperium's reach and like dead solar systems. Like, because, stars die, believe it or not. Yeah, but dead solar systems will fucking just will be like, oh, thank God, the Imperium's here. We got some stability. But let me read you some of the shit, the Imperial jobs, and let me know if any of them sound appetizing to you. A servitor. Humans turned into robot slaves used to do dangerous jobs. A manufacturer working around open chemicals in horrid conditions. A guardsman. They are the military on the front lines of wars. They are slaughtered by many manners. The guns they have are called flashlights because they're that useless. Like if you're gonna fight a fucking like giant monster, a laser weapon isn't really gonna do much. So your only hope is that the Astartes or like the tank fire.
Chainsaws.
Yeah. Oh shit, dude. No, like if you're a regular dude in the Imperium, then you can't lift a fucking like chainsaw sword because there are generators in those motherfuckers. Believe it or not, they're that power. This one as much power as possible into chain swords. So like they put as much tech and shit on like things as possible. Like you could not lift an Astartes weapon. Like it's just you just couldn't, because those things weigh like maybe the thousands of pounds if you're lucky.
If I'm lucky.
I don't know, because it could be like a fucking weird psychic thing where it's like, oh, only I can lift this gun. Anybody who touches it
Like
fucking
Thor's
explodes.
hammer.
Yeah, except you don't fucking get exploded when you touch Thor's
Really
hammer.
true.
Oh shit. Oh dude, and then psychers. You either become psychers. There's like humans who have psychic abilities, but they don't take psychers very seriously at all. Well, they take them seriously. They just use them to fuel this thing called the Golden Throne, which is the Emperor's throne that feeds the the warp. They need a lighthouse. So the Golden Throne, or the Astronomicon, as it's called, is the lighthouse that just like, all right, well, we see that, let's go over there, and we're good, Like so they feed psychers into this. They take people from other worlds and feed them into this. Like they kill them. They are sacrificed into these. And then there was a certain point where it was like, well, we need to add more people because the light is dimming. So thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people across the universe are sacrificed for the greater good, if you want to call it that. It's just like the warp sucks. If you don't know where it's like walking into a factory that makes bombs, and you're just like, oh well, what's this? Can I touch this? One wrong switch, and you're fucked. So that's why the Astronomicon exists.
But I'd imagine everyone else in that factory is also equally fucked.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe if it's a factory that makes bombs, I would assume they would be safe. But if it's a late night and you're blindfolded, that's another story. Ugh, shit. Yeah, but jobs in the Imperium, there's just, if you're a regular human, you're fighting for scraps. It's just like, you'll be lucky to get rat meat, a hunk of rat meat, if you save your Imperial credits for this. Imperial credits, they're just the money of the Imperium, pretty much. I mean, on planets, I also don't barter, because I assume bartering would be a part of horrible worlds like these. It fucking sucks. Speaking of horrible worlds, planets of the Imperium. They're these things. I'm gonna rattle them off. So sorry if it seems, but feudal worlds the Imperium has not seen fit to introduce modern technology to, and only real help, if there's like a Tyranid ship just chilling or coming, your only real help is like the fucking people watching you on the moon of your planet. You're just like, yeah, there's no modern technology. Shit sucks, and you're just constantly being watched. And then there are feral worlds, planets whose people are nomadic hunter-gatherers of early architectural societies similar to old Earth's stone, bronze, and iron ages. And the planets are also given this thing called a teeth grade. Like it's like your grade depends on how valuable you are to the Imperium. I don't know the grades. I just know that the grades exist. So like if a planet creates cool ass weapons, then I assume that would be pretty high on the teeth scale type shit.
Teeth?
Yeah, teeth. Tithe. Teeth.
That's tithe.
Tithe. I don't know. I'm fucking bad at reading this shit, man. There are forge worlds that are controlled by the Adeptus Mechanicus, completely dedicated to manufacture of various machines, advanced technology, and other devices for the Imperium. They make farming equipment and starships and fighters and shit. Hive worlds, they are like populated Imperium like colonies, but hive worlds suck. You don't want to be on a fucking hive world, because there's like, you.
I have such an intense question. Is there anywhere decent in this fucking...
Yeah,
There-
I've also wondered that.
Yeah,
Like, what are we
yeah.
getting? Are there any good guys? Is there anything
Where is the
decent?
Oh, yeah,
planet of
there's only-
puppies?
There's only like desolation. I mean, there are some cool worlds like these worlds, like garden worlds where the Imperium where like high-ranking people will go there and like chill out, because they want these worlds to be as naturally beautiful as possible for people who want to just break. Those worlds are okay, but even those worlds have like fucking hidden hive worlds that are fucking terrible. Like maybe if you work for a high-ranking Imperial for something, you'll be safe, kinda. But if you're like,
Any time you could just be...
if you're like a servant or something and they're like called to war, they will probably take you to war with them because you're their servant. You're pretty much like a slave. You're either a slave or you're a peasant. And being a slave
Everywhere
sucks.
in this universe just fucking sucks.
Yeah, everywhere sucks. Pretty much.
Great.
Yeah, what'd you expect?
Well, yeah, I don't know what I expected
Oh,
when you
shit.
compared these guys to Gandhi, Jesus, and Hitler. So.
Well, that's not the emperor's fault, and I will get into that in here.
Great.
Oh shit! But fucking, there are Forge World, Hive World, Night Worlds, which just train knights, Imperial knights and shit. Believe it or not, reminiscent of Middle Ages. You.
I was just gonna say it's not like night all the time. It's not like where the vampires.
No. They just train knights. It's like a night school world. Hive World. Cardinal Worlds, base of operations for the Battle Sisters. They are Cardinal Worlds, yes. Cemetery Worlds, they honor Imperial dead and mark a site of a massive battle that went there, or in some worlds will just bury nearby hive cities will just bury their people here, not all the time, but sometimes. Pleasure Worlds, aka Garden Worlds, are naturally beautiful, dedicated to pampering Imperials. Sometimes they host cults and shit. The Garden Worlds will allow cults, because this is a place where pleasure lives. Of just you want to.
The
Go
one
ahead.
place in this universe I want to go.
Yeah, but it sucks. You're gonna have to fucking jack off a dude who's half robot, half dinosaur or some shit. Fuck. There are war worlds. War zones. There's wars. They're war zones. They're horrible, horrible wars. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be on most of these places. Don't go here. Fortress worlds. They are extremely well defended Imperial worlds, protected by the Navy and the military. Some, however, are taken over by traitors. Most protected is in this place called Cadia. I'll get into that later. I'm sorry if I keep saying I'll get into that later, but I will. This is like I said,
This is your Doug.
Oh shit. Yeah, and then I get to talk about the Gothic language. The Gothic language is a mixture of English, European, Asian, Latin, and languages. It's just fucking and there are two different versions of it. There's High Gothic and Low Gothic. High Gothic is spoken by High Imperials and shit, and they're I tried to look up sentences for it, and it's just insane how little I can understand it. I can't
Is
could
it
you
the Queen's English versus normal English?
Yeah, something like that, I guess. I mean, but no fairy accents. It's kind of just it's kind of like garble, garble, gobble to gobble, 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 gobble. I don't know.
Makes perfect sense.
You would not, nobody would understand this shit if an Imperial citizen came. This is what the rest of the. Yeah, this is what the rest of the world says. They're just well, this is what the rest of the Imperium and shit. This is how they talk. The low Gothic of just that's how they talk, and High Imperials talk High Gothic. Believe it or not. They're also Imperial assassins, and there's assassins who are sent who are just told to kill whoever. They kill high-ranking Imperials sometimes. It's there's assassins who are just put into place to kill just whoever. If they're an enemy to the Imperium, then they kill them. So, that's pretty much it. They're assassins. Ooh, you're gonna love Exterminatus. Exterminatus is when the Imperium. I mean, I probably already told you this, but the Imperium just decides that a world is no longer useful and just bombards. Sometimes star systems, sometimes planets. But if chaos is there and you're in like a tick, then you're out like a light. Pretty much.
So they exterminate
Everything.
everything.
If sometimes their own dudes, if need be, they won't go out of their way to fuck over dudes on the ground. But if it's necessary, then good luck to you, cause you ain't making out that bitch. Yeah, but there are many ways. They make cyclones. They make cyclone torpedoes that just boil oceans and turn them into vapor, and it's turn them into cyclones and shit. Cyclones are bad if you haven't been in a cyclone. And then there are virus bombs that just eviscerate all nearby cells, like cells. And, you know, you got cells, I got cells. It's fucking whatever
Ryan
got cells.
Gosling has cells.
Ryan Gosling has cells. Yeah, but and then man, it's just Exterminatus sucks. You don't want to be on a world that's about
Everything
to
fucking sucks.
be. Yeah, see. Yeah, pretty much. It's mostly just war. Yeah, the only thing to do in the Imperium is war, clean up sewers. This is it. You're just either a slave or you're in the Imperium. Yeah, worlds suck. These worlds suck. But they have different worlds for different shit, like chem worlds and like warp worlds and tomb worlds and shit like that. There's so many worlds, like millions of worlds that the Imperium owns that they can just do whatever. Like they just have a fucking world of just like puppies if they wanted to. Like they have that many. They don't. But
Damn it.
yeah. Maybe in the next edition, kid. But they have a world for everything, pretty much, almost. And these worlds are constantly like being taken over and then taken back, and this and that and that and this. Yeah, that's pretty much it for worlds. There's also this thing called the Black Library. Now, the Black Library is a pretty cool place because it's the source of the Eldar's knowledge of chaos. That like any information about chaos is here in this library. The library is just the tombs and writings and studies of the Immaterium and chaos. It's enclosed within a nearly impenetrable psychic fortress. It is watched by guardian scribes. It includes old and new knowledge of chaos. Only people who have mastered like who can't like be like controlled by chaos can come in here, because they don't, they want chaos to run the place that's supposed to help fight chaos. It's pretty self-explanatory. One. Yeah, and there's a vault inside of it, like that nobody can access, that has like the written word of a high-ranking Eldar. It's also the Black Library is also a name for the like publishing company for the Imperium, not for Games Workshop. Yeah, it's like they just print books and comic books and shit, and that's what they base it off of. They just call it the Black Library, and I don't know if they call it that because of this. I don't know if it's like vice versa. Of just like, do they call it the Black Library because the publishing company, it's a funny inside joke, or do they call it that because, like chicken or the egg kind of thing? I couldn't really figure it out.
Orange and fruit.
Demerit.
I didn't ask a question, so.
Yeah, but you made a wrong statement. Yes.
Real quick, how much more of the lecture do you have? 'Cause I think we've been running for over an hour now.
Oh shit, it's been an hour.
6:30.
Ooh, yeah. Oh shit. I was just about to get into this.
Yeah, I don't mean to rush you, but like I don't really want to stay past 7 because I have an hour ride.
Oh yeah, shit. Ooh. This is gonna be a whole thing, but I'll try to I'll get the broad strokes. I'll try my best. But okay, yeah. I guess I'll get into the Eye of Terror. The Eye of Terror. You know what the Eye of Terror is? It's pretty fucking bad. The Imperium hates that the Eye of Terror exists. The Eye of Terror is just like whatever comes out, whatever. Yeah, it's a massive warp rift and a permanent warp storm in a place where the warp exists in real space. Largest and most well-known warp rift in the galaxy. And it's in the rimward edge of the galaxy. Largest concentration of the forces of chaos in real space. It's one of the highest assaults. One of the highest assaults in the Imperium came from here. It then resulted in another tear, which spread across the Eye of Terror to another anomaly to the Great Rift, and this was the result of the birth of Slaanesh. And it also, marked the fall of the Eldar. So that was pretty cool. And this thing called the Cadian Gate is the best known stable gate to the Eye of Terror. It's the most fortified and militarized world in the Imperium. First line defense against chaos. They use Necron technology to keep it at bay. And despite its best efforts, it was taken over by chaos. Ooh, yeah. Now, I'm going to get into this, the chronological history. Now the thing about this thing called the Chrono Strife happened. It's like this ongoing, like, argument in the Imperium of just, like this Primarch, it was like, well, all of our information sucks because the Imperium just, like, rewrote shit, like, repetitive, or took shit out of their history. And they're just like, well, like, and then he's like, well, what's the use of this? This is nothing. Like, you could kind of just look at it. It's kind of like, what the fuck is this? And so he's just like, all right, well, how about I put people in place to fix it? And then it was like, and they came back from, like, a war, and it was like, okay, well, you know what, you guys did a terrible job of it. I'm just gonna do it myself. And this from here is like the complete recollection of, because he did a pretty good job of just, like, because he was like, he really wanted it. You know, he was a Primarch, so he could just do whatever he wanted. So this is it. Yeah, this is a complete recollection. So this, you know, best place to start is the beginning. At the beginning was the birth of the star gods, and it happened at the same time as the creation of like everything. They formed from energies released by cataclysmic force, which also created the concepts of the universe, stars, and stars. In this age, the Cetan were monsters who ate stars. Solid matter doesn't. They don't eat solid matter. They want star energy. They're not interested in fucking eating. They just want energy. You know, that's all they're into is all energy. Got it. Yeah, no cheeseburgers. Now the old ones. The birth of the Eldari siphoned energy from another dimension. First beings to use warp gigs made webways. The old ones, they just made the webways. Yeah, that's pretty much what they're known for. Is, yeah, they're pretty important too. They make cool technology and, like, basis of shit. But yeah, the Necroteer Wars and the Secession Wars. The wars. These were the birth of the Necrons, who were born under a star. Necroteer lived painfully short lives due to, like, radiation from their sun. Their entire civilization lived in fear of an early death, and their greatest structures were for the dead, and they didn't give a shit about the living, so they was just like, because, you know, the living weren't living very long. Yeah, and they went to space to cure their radiation poisoning, and they used stasis to colonize distant worlds, conquering most of the galaxy. They then encountered the Old Ones, who refused to reveal the secrets of immortality, which started a war. Because, you know, like, people want to die, want to just, like, know, you know, they was like, oh, we want to live forever, and because we're dying off pretty easily, and all of us were like, shit, not my problem. And that's how that went, and then that started a war, and that caused the War in Heaven. Was a war between the Necroteer and the Old Ones, a war the Necroteer could never win. Their technology was constantly outmaneuvered by the Old Ones due to their mastery of the webway. They were pushed back until they were very little threat to the Old Ones, and sent back to their irradiated homes. They were very angry, and yeah, they're pretty pissed off that they lost. And eventually, a common enemy no longer held the dynasties together, and they wanted to end it by any means. Even surrender. They wanted to end the war. The war was still going on. They were just beaten back, but they wanted to end it, like, by any means necessary. Then the second iteration of the war began, which was more widespread and ruinous. If the Old Ones wanted to, at this point, at the second iteration of the war, they could have easily defeated them. But they're just like, what's the point? Like, we're just gonna fucking beat them anyway. If they put a little bit of elbow grease into it, they could have easily beat them. But they're just like, it was a pretty easy fight. And then the Necrons Ascendant happened. The Necrons boost in power, and the Cetans, those people who eat life forces, got access to their life forces and tilted the scale of the war. The Cetan destroyed planets, extinguished suns, and made black holes. The Necrons' life force, and yeah, they used the Necron life force to do this shit. Like, it just fed them, because the Necrons were then, well, the Necrotyr at this point, they were tricked by them to be like, all right, well, how about we turn you guys into robots, and we use your life force to power up like super awesome powers that we got. And they're like, well, all right. So, and then the Necrotyr were ran by a guy named the Silent King. And then when he came out the other side of the making you into a robot shit, he was like, well, I made a mistake. And he just fucking hated it that it happened. He instantly regretted it. That's the best way to say it. Is he instantly fucking regretted it. And then they use this to attack the old ones across the galaxy. They also harvested life force of others to feed the Cetan. In the closing years of the war, the Cetan decided to use the webway to go beyond their dimensional boundaries. Using stone portals called dolmen gates, this accelerated the war's end, and in the favor of the Necrons. They eventually stopped using them because of how tangled and broken the things had become. And after their victories, the Necrons became feared for unknown reasons. The Cetan began fighting each other. Like, it became like internal wars. Like, it's not known why they were fighting. It's just like, it's no that they just started fighting, betraying each other until there were like no Cetan, like little to no Cetan left. Ooh, yeah. And then during this time, the old ones engineered powerful psychers, psychics, with a better line to the warp to fight the Necrons, which is thought to be some of the earliest Eldar. The tide turns. The Old One's Psychers spread the galaxy, battling the Necrons. This destroyed the Cetan Empire with warp powers. This unified the remaining Cetan to seal off access to the warp from the universe. First tries were near the Cadian Gate. However, the Old Ones stirred up the warp and created a huge problem, forming the Realm of Chaos. And then, and then the Enslaver Plague happened. Entities from the warp were coming into their world and taking over the Old Ones, like, people. Like, cause, they're the enslavers. They just came in and they just started using mind tricks to fucking get them on their side, and started attacking each other and shit like that, cause warp entities, they very much don't care. They'll just fuck over whoever just because. This is pretty much it. The old ones made new warrior species to defend their territories, called Korks. The old ones lost the use of the webway, destroying their own warp gates to prevent the entities of the warp from spreading. The most feared were the enslavers, who could mind control and make their own portals into the material universe. The enslavers took over the Old Ones' forces. This broke their power over the galaxy. They had to flee. And they just fled into the unknown. Nobody knows where the fuck the Old Ones are. They're just poof, gone. The most feared, the Silent King's betrayal. That Silent King I mentioned earlier. In the final parts of the War in Heaven, the Silent King was waiting for a chance to attack the Cetan. He waited because he wanted to end the War in Heaven, and but he needed the Cetan to help him finish the War in Heaven. And then when the War in Heaven was finished, and the Cetan started fucking each other over, they were turned, and then he turned on the Cetan, and then fuck them over, and then turn them into these thing called Citan fragments because like they can't be destroyed because they're like the building blocks of the universe or some shit. And they're just like, all right, well, and then they turn them into tesseract labyrinths. Like I already explained the tesseract labyrinth, just many pocket dimensions that hold them, but it's unknown whether or not they will be unleashed upon the universe again. Ooh, spooky. The Great Sleep. The Silent King planned to ride out the Enslaver Plague because the Enslaver Plague was going on hard at this point. He's just like, all right, well, how about I get all of my forces and then make them go to sleep for a certain period of time, and then eventually we'll come back and take over the galaxy again. And then that's what he did. But then he got rid of like this thing called the protocol, a command protocol that allowed him to fucking control all the citizens. So he made them all go to sleep, and then he destroyed his own command protocol to like over all the citizens because they were robots. And they're just like, all right, well, how about this? And then he just went into space. He didn't sleep with them. He's just like, I've failed my people, because he was still pretty fucked up about, like making his people into slaves of the Satan and destroying their souls and then partially putting what's left of their souls into robots. So he's just went into space. That's it. Nobody knows what happened to him. He just took a ship.
Bye-bye.
Adios. And that was the Great Sleep. And yeah, and then the Necrons eventually woke up. And then they found that there were still Psychers and Chaos Worshippers and shit like that, but still plan to take over. Their goals are to overthrow Chaos, kill the Adari, and humanity be controlled. Because they just want like bodies, to replace the shit, because they're tired of being robots, so they just want bodies to take over, to be fleshy things again, which I don't understand, because being a robot would be kick-ass. Robots in disguise. Now, the rise of humanity, the Age of Terra. This happened from the first millennium to the 15th. During the Age of Progress, humanity began to spacefare using sublight starships. Like, it's not like the beginning of humanity. It kind of goes from like the beginning of humanity to like when they started spacefaring and shit, and just been like, all right, like before the Emperor. This is before the Emperor, and because they were like heavily advanced technology and shit. It's pretty cool. The Age of Terror. Yeah, they just created cool sublight ships, and this thing called the Stellar Exodus it's a poorly understood period of history, and is the beginning of semi-space travel in the third millennium. Humanity did not know about warp travel at this time. Like from the third millennium to the first millennium, they didn't know about warp travel. The Age of Technology. Navigators were made to like help them out in the warp, because at this point they're just like, all right, well, we know from the 15th millennium they started to know what the warp was, and so they created this thing called the warp drive, which allowed them to do their own, just like do shit in the warp, like get supplies to places, to worlds faster, and shit like that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. This is before the rise, as I said. They sent and then during this time they sent colonists to other planets, and this is where night worlds were founded to protect their places. And night worlds were discovered in the 18th millennium, and these planets were often dangerous, so SCTs were created at this time also to build and protect. During this era, the night worlds brought order and protection to the planets. Humanity was ruled over by the Men of Gold, who relied on the Men of Stone's work. And the Men of Gold were just like the leaders of this time, an Imperium before the Imperium type thing. And yeah, and then the Men of Iron created the Stonemen created the Men of Iron, who were subsidiaries of the Men of Gold. Like it goes Men of Gold, Men of Stone, Men of Iron, and the Men of Iron created the AI which fucked them over. And after the AI revolt, the Psychers began to appear, and they were harbingers of the decline of the Eldar, because the Eldar hated Psychers really, really bad. The result was humans' introduction to demonic entities from the warp, which led to the collapse of humanity's stability from the interstellar travel known as the Age of Strife, or as Terra calls it, the Old Night. The Age of Strife is an interstellar when interstellar travel collapsed, demonic entities possessed and anarchy ensued. Worlds also became prey to like aliens, like the orcs, and in a short amount of time, humanity was brought on the brink of destruction. For 5 millennia, little information exists about the age. It was just like, well, like, what happened? Anything important happened? And because everybody was too busy trying to survive than taking notes. You know, it's like in Saving Private Ryan when they do that fucking typewriter on the shit. Like, no, I'm just here to take notes. And the fall of the Eldari happened. It's in Eldar history. Yeah. Surprise, surprise. Some of the Eldar left their corrupt homeworld. Remember, the Eldar were fucking around, and a whole bunch of shit happened. But while some of the Eldar were doing really deplorable shit, right before Slaanesh came, some of them were just like, all right, this is really stupid, so we're gonna leave. And that's exactly what they did. And they created these things called craft worlds, and they left because they was like, this is pretty gross. I'm not into this. Let me grab my thing. Sippy sip. Yeah. Blah blah blah. And then the Eldar. It's a separation from the Eldar, and this was like the beginning of the fall of the Eldar. And then Slaanesh was born, and created the created the Eye of Terror. But the souls of the Eldar were what created Slaanesh. Like all these like worlds that exploded and shit, and all these gross, disgusting, crusty people. They were they're in Slaanesh. It's just like it's kind of like if you've ever read Berserk, and nobody knows what Berserk is. It's like the afterlife in Berserk. There's like the demons there are like sucked into this bigger like cyclone of just like souls and shit. It's just like you're a part of it. You are it. Sometimes you make it out. Sometimes you don't.
It is you.
Each Steve. Ooh, here you. Fall. Yeah, and then that's what happened. And the Eldar gods tried to combat Slaanesh, but they lost, and only 2 gods remained: a trickster god and a other god. I was not to say what she is, but and she was taken by Nurgle. So Nurgle in the realm of chaos kidnapped this goddess to just experiment on her with like new diseases and shit to like spread around the universe. So one just fucked off and one's just endlessly being guinea pigged. The world, but however, the worlds of the Eldar, the craft worlds, were untouched. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Good for them. And then to prevent another event like that from happening, they created a code of conduct that every Eldar is made to live with. Like, and they're just like, okay, we don't want the fucking Eye of Terror to happen, so of course we're gonna listen to these rules that were set before us. And then the ones that did survive, they kind of just went into the warp and joined Slaanesh. Like the ones who survived the Eye of Terror opening, they was like, all right, well, as long as we get to keep doing what we was doing, I mean, yeah, what's the problem here? The Great Crusade. Yeah.
Knew it.
Ooh. Yeah, resume, Age of Terror, Age of Tech. Yep, Great Crusade. So I just had to double check. It started at the end of the Age of Strife. The warp storms mysteriously disappeared with the birth of Slanesh and the fall of the Eldari. In the 30th millennium, the Emperor emerged mysteriously from the Age of Strife and became the greatest warlord on Earth. He and his ally, that guy Maldor, the Sigilite, they just brought everybody together during the Unification Wars. They're just like, all right, either follow us or we're gonna fucking kill you. Kind of like now, you.
There seems to be a common theme here.
Yeah, that is the thing of Warhammer. It's just
Follow
like,
us or we'll kill you.
yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Sounds like you guys are.
Oh shit! And then he used his armies to unite humanity under the imperial truth, which is science good, religion bad.
Sounds good.
He made a pact with Mars. You already know that, and free practice. You already knew that. He also agreed to give them. I also mentioned that. And then I pretty much mentioned all this shit. This is like I said. These explains these. So yeah, I'm giving broad descriptions of it, mind you. It's just like, because so much is said about Warhammer. Like, there's so much stuff of Warhammer that's like, it's a lot. Because if I did, we'd be here for like 8 hours of just like, oh well, this Space Marine chapter fought in this war, and then this god's legions fought this. So I'm just giving broad descriptions, so nobody's just like on the internet like well, you didn't mention that fucking Space Wolves or whatever defeated the Necrons in the whatever. I mean, I don't think that ever happened, but I'm just giving an example. Don't worry.
Covering your ass.
Covering my ass.
Do you have that?
Oh shit. However, constant cloning started making the defects. Because the Emperor he really liked cloning people. So the defects, and then he killed the Thunder Warriors and yada yada yada. And then he created the Primarchs, but when he did find one of them, he found the first one, and it was a man named Horus. Horus, who he treated like a son. And then after he found more of them, Horus was starting to get jealous. He's like, man, but you're my daddy. And he was starting to get pushed more and more to the side, like a bald-headed stepchild.
My daddy. I thought it was redheaded stepchild.
Bald-headed, redhead. I was bald.
The way you said that, all I could think of was blue or.
I love you, Daddy.
Ooh, yeah. And then remember that orc thing I told you about?
Yes.
The
Wog?
Yeah, the Wog, one of the Wogs was allowed Horus to then be a part of, like, the Emperor was just like, all right, well, I'm going to go experiment with shit on Terra. So, Horus, you're in charge. Good luck. Goodbye. And he left. And then Horus was in charge. And Horus did a pretty decent job. Yeah, man. Until the Horus Heresy. See, one of the Primarchs, not Horus at this time, had secretly turned to Chaos' side. He was mad at the Emperor for reprimanding him for worshipping the Emperor, because the Emperor hates religion. He didn't want to be a religion. He just wanted science and technology to reign supreme. He was like, that was his thing. He was like, well, we need progress, and this is the only way progress can happen. Is if superstitions, except for the machine dudes, you can do whatever. Thanks for the fucking vortex grenades or whatever.
Brain boys or whatever.
No, the brain boys.
Oh, I don't know. I'm so confused.
Yeah, same.
Raise your damn hand.
I'm following along, but
I am trying my best.
Raise your damn hand. You're doing something. But Primarchs. But he was pretty mad, and so he went to the Chaos side, because I guess he was looking for something to worship. He was like, well, if we're going to worship something, might as well be the Chaos guys. Because the Emperor was not happy. I think he destroyed that world that worshipped the Emperor. He was just like, no, I don't want any religion. There's no religion. No ifs, ands, or buts. So that guy was pissed, and then the Emperor, he eventually went to the Eye of Terra to make contact with the gods. He also planned to intertwine the warp and the material universe, and then spent 4 decades preparing to convert his brothers and their allegiance to chaos. He arranged for Horus to be wounded in a battle, and then be hit by, and then he was like, oh yeah, man, it was a chaos. It was like Nurgle touched it, the god of Ra. He touched it, and he was like, all right, this will morally wound him to where he needs to be, like, he needs magic to save him. And so Horus's legions, like, they weren't for it, but they're like, man, fuck it, like, all right, if it saves Horus. And then a preset ritual was performed on Horus, and he came out the other side, evil. Yeah.
Surprise, the magic turned him into a bad guy.
Yeah, and then Horus defeated. Yeah, and then but in the warp, he was just like, the Chaos Gods were like, yeah, man, the Emperor doesn't fucking love you. He doesn't care about you. So like, why? Like, maybe you should just destroy him and then take everything that was his. And he was like, all right. It was like, that's the only way we'll let you live. I think that was like part. I mean, I don't know if it was, but that's also what they said. That's like lies and half truths. They're like, the Emperor never loved you, and then it's just like he's just using you. And then Horus is like, all right, thanks for letting me know.
He was never
that.
your daddy.
Oh shit.
Imposter daddy.
Yeah, it's alright. Yeah, but I write really small. An arrival of Horus Spirit was. They succeeded through lies and half truths. Yes, he was returned, and when the deal was struck, when he was like, all right, yeah, sure. Then the deal was struck, and then he was sent back. Years later, Horus began to move the pieces in place to overthrow the Emperor. He also corrupted 8 Primarchs. Eventually, half the Imperium's army was corrupted by Horus. Horus began his attack, however, by telling 4 Space Marine legions with their Primarchs to go to a planet and then virus bombed it. And this is known as the Istravan III atrocity. This forced Horus to go on a campaign. Then he fled into the warp to warn, like a group of Imperial Knights or whatever, fled into the warp to warn the Emperor after this happened. Because it's just like, why the fuck did Horus just betray us? It was like
What the hell, man?
yeah, it's just, imagine it. It's like they're really shocked by it, and they're like, we need to go tell the Emperor now, because they know how bad Horus is, and how good, like, bad, and sort of, they know how good he is at war.
Nothing. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, that's what. They just know how good he is at war, so it's like, well, we need the Emperor, because he's the only person that can, like... And so the Emperor sent a fleet of ships to, like, go handle Horus. Yeah, and then the Loyalists assumed that they were outnumbered, but guess what? Remember when Horus had half the army? So half the army that was sent to go attack Horus attacked each other, and then Horus used and then they just fucked them up. Oh, but what are you guys talking about? What almost half-long month break and then a separate location? I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, here are some things that I forgot about before we finish the rest of the lecture. Some of the Astartes chapters that I forgot about. Yeah, because I forgot about a couple cool ones. I forgot about the Dreadnoughts. They're not really a chapter. They're like these gigantic tombs that hold like the best warriors that the Imperium ever had, and they hold them in like this like jelly that.
Like the mausoleum of the Arbiter.
Don't know what that is.
Halo?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, not a big Halo guy, but
Boo! No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
but yeah, they're just like they're advisors too. They talk to people. They're very wise. Their opinion is very heavily like looked upon, but they're eternally trapped, and they really want to die. Most of them are just like, why the fuck? Like, I should have just died. But it's a very big honor to be a dreadnought, because not everybody is a dreadnought. Because in dreadnoughts, a piece of the Emperor's armor is given inside of them, because it's just like, your fight is so strong enough that the Emperor would be proud of you, is what that means, kind of. But it's kind of just like, you don't have a say in whether you're a dreadnought or not.
Hitler is proud.
Demerit.
Wasn't a question. Was a statement.
All right, moving on to the Salamanders. They're one of the first founding chapters of the Marines. Before joining their prime arc, they were called the Dragon Warriors. They're from a volcanic death world called Nukturn. Usually considered like they're concerned with civilians. You know how the Imperium doesn't care whether you live or die?
Yeah.
But the Salamanders are very different. They're pretty cool.
They care if you live or
Yeah,
die.
they.
So not everyone sucks?
It's still a volcanic death world, so don't get your hopes up.
Just because they're the best.
Yeah.
The worst.
It doesn't necessarily mean that they're any better than the worst.
Agreed. The Adeptus Mechanicus love their world because of like all the materials. Volcanic world has a lot of new elements going on there and stuff. And the Emperor went to their world to look for somebody named Vulcan. He challenged this Vulcan person to a contest and lost. But this guy Vulcan, he joined the Emperor afterwards because he said, "All right, I respect it." And then Vulcan disappeared after the Horus Heresy. He left behind a book that reveals the location of 9 artifacts. They're like one of the only real black people in Warhammer,
Oh, got it.
other than the Dark Eldar.
They're not
They're not.
black though.
Yeah, they're not really black. They're more like really tan. It's like
So they're the only non-light-skinned people.
kinda. I mean, these Space Marines are heavily.
Not far off.
These people are heavily augmented. Like, I also forgot to mention that in the Astartes. Like, they're experimented on to a 10th degree. Like, they have like 9 hearts or something, or like what something in them that like kickstarts like their healing ability.
And then they have 4 stomachs so
Kickstarts
they
their
can
heart.
chew cud like a
Something
cow.
like that. They have like something for metal. It's just there. And this led to their like genetic mutations and stuff. Like, yeah, you wouldn't want to be a Space Marine because they also tested by like weird ways. Like, they'll put you on a death planet by yourself, and you got to make it to the finish line. They'll put it with like a handful. You either make it or you won't. And that's
like
a
Wipeout.
yeah, except with horrible
With
monsters
death.
just waiting around. They'll always put you. They won't give you any weapons or anything. You have to figure this shit out yourself.
I'll just bring a chainsaw.
And then like after something happened, and then like certain Space Marine chapters like lose, so they're just like, okay, we'll pick up whoever, like somebody who has like seems like they have the heart of an Astartes, and they'll just be like, all right, you're gonna be trained. You were forced to be whatever. If they want you, they will take you. All right, now back to the chronological shit. Allow me to go back to my notes. Now, at the end of the Horus Heresy, right at the end of it, the Emperor was mortally wounded after he went to Horus's ship, because when Horus's campaign, it made it to Terra, and then when it made it to Terra, there was like this 7-year civil war on Terra, and they were fighting, and then eventually it went into Horus's ship, where the Emperor was there and confronted him, and then the Emperor was mortally wounded, and right before he died, the Emperor used all of his like psychic abilities and shit to like eviscerate Horus's soul from the warp and from like in general. So Horus is gone. He is gone. And the Emperor, he used most of his power, so he's like mortally wounded by like chaos weaponry or something, so that really fucked him up. So then he was dragged, you remember the Golden Throne? Yeah, the Golden Throne. The Emperor is put on that so that so that he could survive, kinda, sorta ish. It's like, it's not really said whether the Emperor survived. It's like, it's not known whether he survived or it's just like his bones are chilling on there, because that's what's sacrificed. But But the thing about this is that when the Emperor was put on the Golden Throne, he was like, the Astronomicon became strong. He became the lighthouse on the Golden Throne. And he also fights warp entities. And then when this happened, remember the Tyranids? The Tyranids are drawn to the Astronomicon, like the Golden Throne, because they're bugs. They want to go to the brightest light. And then the Astronomicon. So yeah, and that's. And that is the Horus Heresy.
Yeehaw.
All right, now people, don't get too excited because this is where everything in Warhammer kind of goes tits up. Because remember,
Yeah, I was about to say.
because remember when the Emperor was just like, I don't want any religion, I don't want this, I don't want that. Remember? Well, guess what? The Imperium then was just like, all right, fuck all that. The Emperor is our Lord and Savior for saving all of humanity. So they turned him into a religion.
Which is the exact opposite of what he was.
Yes, absolutely. So after, you remember?
How we fucked over George Washington with his last request to not create political parties. Continue.
Yeah, and don't forget, no foreign debt.
That too.
But yeah, Horus is about. Yeah.
Sorry, Horus. Gone.
Yeah, Horus gone, but
Emperor, religion.
yeah, and then the religion aspect. This is where the religious aspects comes into Warhammer after this, because when the Emperor is gone, then people needed something to believe in, and they believed in the Emperor more so. So remember that Primarch that was just like, all right, well, I'm gonna worship the Emperor, and the Emperor was like, no, that Primarch is
Started the whole thing.
Yeah. pretty much started the Emperor's rise into like goddom.
Good for him.
Well, it's still a religion. They became a religious cult. They are strictly religious. They do not take. They take heresy. It's just like they see anything as like heresy. You talk like this conversation that we're having now of just like, oh well, maybe the Emperor's bones are there, or maybe he's actually dead. You would be murdered on the spot.
Well,
Great.
Yeah, like they are very much a police organization after this. They are a shut up, Cass.
Which is my belief.
Sorry, I had something in my throat. Shut up. But on to something else. Now, the Great Scouring. The Great Scouring, it began immediately after the Horus Heresy. Over the course of decades, it finally got rid of Chaos forces in Imperial space. Before the Emperor went to the throne, he wanted all the traitors to be sent to the Eye of Terror. All records of them were to be expunged. He wanted, from the Imperial archives, he wanted Robert Guilliman was put in charge of the Imperium. Many chaos corrupted star systems were purged and put under watch by the Inquisition. The Imperial truth had become an afterthought in the age of the Imperium. It's just like the religious aspect really came into play here. The second founding. The remaining 9 Space Marine legions were disbanded and turned into smaller Astartes chapters who were given the Codex Astartes. Remember, like how to run. Remember that it's like how you run your chapter and shit. Like this is where it came into play here because I'll tell you in a second. The purpose was to prevent any leader like Horus from using an entire legion against humanity. They went from a primary frontline military force to planetary assault and rapid reaction force. Each new chapter either kept or changed their ways in their traditions. In Age of the Imperium is conveyed as spanning from the Horus Heresy. They just remember how things were ran in the Imperium. Now they're ran completely differently. It's like Native Americans were in America. Now they're not.
Cool to it.
Night and day. Oh, yeah, yeah. It's completely different. Like a completely different way of like running an entire government.
Yeah.
Or whatever you want to call this fucking sham. Alright, now, Time of Rebirth. This took place from the 31st millennium to the 32nd millennium. Imperium slowly recovered from the Horus Heresy. However, aliens decided to take advantage of the Horus Heresy. It scrambled because the Horus Heresy scrambled the Imperium so bad. The Imperial army was split into land and space-based forces, each with a chain of command and bureaucracy. The era of peace was ended when the orcs rampaged against the Imperium on a massive scale, way worse than the battle that gained Horus his, is like the power of being the second in command. The Astartes were used to put an end to the orcs. This decimated the chapter numbers. This is called the War of the Beasts. The Inquisition split to safeguard humanity from any other further assaults. Marines were tasked with tracking down the person behind the because at this time the politics at the time took a turn when the High Lords of Terror were killed by assassins. Remember the assassins? Somebody got rid of the High Lords of Terror, and the High Lords of Terror were underneath the Emperor. And you get rid of the Emperor, the Emperor's people who were, it was pretty fucked at this point. You
basically got rid of Congress.
Yeah, like you get rid of the president, you got rid of Congress, and then you got rid of everybody else. All right, and then well, you're gonna be saying that when you're selling fake hats in Times Square. Yeah, where was it? Turn, blah blah blah. The Marines were tasked with tracking down the person who sent the assassins, and the commander died as soon as he stepped on the planet when the person was there, where the person was. But the mission was a success and left only one Astartes alive. The Imperium fell into anarchy for a century until a new High Lords of Terror were chosen, and they were chosen by the chapter master of the Ultramarines. Now, let's get into the Forging. The Forging was the Adeptus Terra had brought the most important human-settled worlds that had not been reached under Imperial control. This allowed them to use a reliable network of interstellar communication by using astropaths to send and receive messages across light years. This era also saw a slowing down of the Imperial's technology level from its pre-heresy height and growth of the interstellar economy due to the discovery of a valuable STC. Remember STCs?
No.
No.
STCs, remember? Very important robot, very important AI with really important materials and blueprints and shit.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Men of Iron. But the astropath. This era also, there was a slowing down of technology and a growth of interstellar economy. But once again, the Imperium fought back against chaos, heretics, and aliens. Worship of the Emperor as a god began around this time and became the official religion in the 32nd millennium. In the 32nd millennium, the Imperium was consumed by an event called the Astropath Wars. No information exists about it, along with something called the Firestorm. Something called the Astropath Wars and the Firestorms have been expunged from Imperial records. They do that.
Oh, it's like, no, it didn't happen.
Yeah, you can see.
Sleep it right.
Yep. During the 33rd millennium, the War of the Confessor unfolded when a violent display by the Ministratum showed off its newfound political power by adding key shrine worlds to its holding. Because, they're shrines and shit. They're really religious now. In the 33rd millennium, an admiral was cast out for being too ambitious. He was still too powerful and couldn't be executed without a civil war breaking out. He was sent to take over the star systems in the rim of the galaxy. However, vanished, and the star systems he took over weren't be able to contact it after that. It was just like, what the fuck happened? Nobody knew. In the 33rd millennium, this thing... Oh, this is really cool right here. This thing called the Blade of the Infinity appears. Now, the Blade of Infinity, a pre-heresy ship, arrived from the warp. It just came right out of the warp. Its re-entry signal suggested that it left real space like 220,000 years ago, predating the warp drive's invention. The ship was trying to give a warning, but before the warning could be deciphered, it disappeared, and a fleet of Chaos Marines appeared. It re-emerged several more times throughout the years, always harboring a message that Chaos will attack.
Man, those darn red coats.
It's kind of like that thing in the storm where it's just like your hairs frizzing up or something. People whose hair do that can't relate. But yes,
I have a question. Does anyone know where the Blade of Infinity came from?
no, it's not even supposed to like technically
Exist?
yeah, because it's before. Remember the warp drive and how
Yeah.
important that was. This was before that. It was created before that. Pre-heresy, before the warp drive was invented to help them out.
So we're talking about a emitter.
It's
triangle
a
situation.
well, it's actually kind of more like a Twilight Zone thing.
Yeah.
Picture, if you will.
Doors.
And also during this time, it was called one of the years in the 33rd millennium was known as the Year of the Ghosts, where ghosts rose to drive the forces of the warp back. During the early years of the 34th millennium, a threat arose from the ghost stars. Its true nature remained suppressed or redacted from imperial records. This thing called the Pale Wasting came, and it can wipe out Astartes with ease. It is not known whether the Pale Wasting is a plague or an entity.
Okay.
In the 34th millennium, known as the Howling, unfolded. The murder of a strong psyker led to the deaths of a billion human psykers, while distorting the Astronomicon. Millions of starships were lost, resulting in subsectors of the Imperium going back to barbarianism. During this time, warp stars were forming, and it destroyed stars and planets. They just came from the warp. Anything that comes from the warp, bad. You should know this. If you,
Automatically. Right.
yeah, bam.
Demons.
True that. Nova Terra Interrogum. I cannot say that word. I am very bad at Latin.
Which one was it?
Interrogum.
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 Mhm.
Nova. It took place during the mid 34th millennium to the late 35th millennium. It was a troubled period in imperial history. This thing called the Earl Council of Nova Terra dismissed the authority of the High Lords of Terra and claimed the Galactic West as theirs. This is them. This is what they did. This is a symbolism. This is them. They just like, this is ours now.
So it's
And
like a communism thing. What's yours is mine, and what's mine is mine.
No, I think that's more of a Tau thing, but you're almost there. But yeah, and then during this time, the Nova Terra had divided into a number of warring factions. The Mechanicus were affected by a doctrinal difference in competing powers. In the 35th millennium, a dogmatic battle broke out between two groups in the Mechanicus. The Moirn, Moirn, schism was one.
Schism, huh?
Schism.
Oh, sorry.
That schism was one of the most divisive and costly conflicts in the Mechanicus since the Horus Heresy. It was then they were then like reduced to cinders by Mars's general. This all happened on Mars. Like they were all, they don't like rebellion. You'll come to find.
You're tiny.
But before that, the writing spread in 2000. The schism was written about. It was like this thing. I don't know what it is, but it was written about, and it was like this big thing that caused a total conflict. And then, like, there's like, well, maybe if we nip it in the bud, nobody will know about it. But the writings were found, and this caused 2,000 years of just like, infighting.
As it tends to do.
Yeah, welcome to humanity. And it was 2,000 years of strife passed before it was resolved. The Cataclysm of Souls in the 35th millennium reunited the Imperium. The attempted coup of the High Lords of Terror caused a religious civil war. This rebellion led to the overthrow of the Earl Council. The galaxy suffered from the onslaught of the Herd Rising. Later that year, the largest chapter of the Astartes was formed. And then on a secret lab, someone tried and failed to get rid of the Astartes' genetic flaws. They ended up using the research for organ implants which ended up not working. In the 36th millennium, the War of Recovery unfolded. This war was about gaining first century SCTs and freeing human colonies.
Yeah.
And
Bars.
the age of apathy. It was a new age descent and power struggles consumed the Imperium. Misrule reigned. It was a civil war and tyrannical repression, also considered one of the bloodiest eras. Marked with the power placement of a High Lord of Terra who was insane tyrant. It was also called the Reign of Blood. This caused several wars of faith due to him wanting power to gain over the Imperium. The Confederation of Light was formed and called Vandar, and they called the guy, his name is Vandir. They called Vandir a traitor to the Emperor. They raised a galaxy-wide rebellion, and he was killed by his own bodyguards. After the Imperium's...
You gonna skip over the sororitas?
No, it's in here.
Okay.
Demerit, Ryan Gosling, demerit. Let me get to my shit.
It's his presentation. Let him cook.
I thought we were skipping it. I'm sorry.
I'm not skipping it, but after this, the Imperium swore to a more spiritual agenda and maintain political balance. The female guards were called the Brides of the Emperor and changed their name to the Battle Sisters. This is where the Battle Sisters were fashioned, friends.
Fashion, I bet.
Along with becoming the Inquisitor's chamber militant, they also became the Inquisitation's military. Plague of unbelief. In the 36th millennium, many false prophets appeared, leading rebel armies or worlds. The most powerful was an apostate cardinal. I can't say his name. I can't. Whose heresies caused it.
Is it a bad word?
No, it's like Bucerius. I don't know if I don't speak Latin.
You're
I'm sorry.
Charius.
You think I would, but I don't.
Yeah, because everybody's speaking Latin around here.
His
If anyone would, it would be a Mario.
Yeah, I know. You're
yeah, wrong. His heresies caused it to be caused this era to be called the Plague of the Unbelief. Most powerful, not to be confused with the Curse of the Unbelief. It ended when an imperial saint sacrificed himself. In the 36th millennium as well, the Eye of Terror and other rifts expanded. Remember the Eye of Terror?
Yeah.
Slanesh, for any of you who forgot?
I got a question. Do you think the curse of unbelief caused the plague of unbelief?
No, they're not related. That's what
And
that's
why
what the
did
notes
they
say.
not believe in it?
No,
It's just
they're just this guy just went around and was just like, well, fuck the Emperor and let's raise hell. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, raise hell, boy.
And then during this time also the tech priests watching the Golden Throne demanded an increase in psychers and needed to fuel the Golden Throne. And to this day, 4 times the number of black ships are sent to Terra to sacrifice.
Continue, please.
That's freezing.
What?
Nothing I care to explain on camera.
Shit, apologies. The Age of Redemption marked the era when the Imperium recovered from the sins of apathy. Through blood and tears, the Imperial cult grew in power like never before. Heretics were burned day and night to make up for their sins against the God Emperor, who is what he's now called. Imperial crusades were launched by the Space Marines and other Imperial forces to take back wealth of the Imperium, also to push back chaos and aliens. This led to the rest of the worlds being barely defended because it took so much focus. Earlier, it's like, we need to apologize. You know, we gotta make up to this guy who's probably dead, but we can't say, so let's just fucking burn people at the stake. That's worked so well before in the past,
Burn
right?
the witches.
The heretics.
The heretics.
In the 37th millennium, the wrath of the Chaos Sun fell upon the Imperium. A star exploded, sending warp flame to everybody for hundreds of light years. It either mutated You either mutated them or led them to be possessed by daemons. The High Lords of Terra mobilized every available military force to help. This is said to have healed the wrong of the Vandir treachery. The Great Coal was a purge within Imperial worlds to make sure the Reign of Blood never happened again. The most devastating conflicts during this age were the Abyssal Crusade and the Acolcide War. The Abyssal Crusade, a saint found 30 space marines wanting to prove their devotion to the Emperor. He sent them to the Eye of Terra to earn salvation and purge worlds stolen from mankind. The Acolcide War started when heretics and rogue tech priests came together with artifacts that could make stars supernova. In the name of somebody called the Blind King, a navigator found them and then told the Space Marines where they were in the warp, and then sent the Navy in there to get them. And then they killed this guy called the Blind King and all the people associated with him. And then all the weapons were sent to this thing called the Vault of Mars.
You stumbled over your words between Blind King and Navigator, so I thought you were going to say the Blind King was the Navigator, and I was like, fuck.
No.
Wait. Literally the blind leading the blind.
I mean, that's actually more true than. What is a navigator?
I told you this in the thingy.
Yeah, dude.
Remember?
I don't remember going over it.
The navigators are people who are allowed to go through the warp. For anybody who forgot, people they'll help people through the warp. It was all right. You gotta take a turn, then a left, then another left.
But how do they do it?
With psychic powers.
Left, right, left.
I don't know what that means. I'm sorry.
They have the third eye.
Third eye, yeah, because that's totally not psychic abilities, Ryan Gosling.
Well, yes, but Illuminati.
Yeah. Now let me get into this thing. You remember the Tau people?
Sure.
Now this is the emergence of the Tau. They came in during the 37th millennium to the 41st millennium. Now the Tau in the beginning, they were like this. They just started when the Imperium first found them. They were like when they were mounting their world. They were just monkeys. They just started. They had just found fire, but then a warp storm sucked in their planet or covered their planet, and then out came the Tau, ready to kick ass with cool ass technology. I don't know how long the warp storm happened. It's from 37. Yeah. You don't know. The warp storms can either be really bad or kind of, sorta, maybe okay. It's kind of like jumping off a building. It depends on how tall the.
How does that equate to that?
Well, it depends on how tall the building is. How many sections? You either jump off the front, you either jump off the lower areas, or you jump off the high area. Better chance of surviving.
Aim for the bushes.
Wasn't even on in that direction. Jump 20 stories. But this is where the Tau showed up, and the Imperium doesn't like them because they're.
Who does the Imperium like?
Themselves?
Pretty much.
Alright, now moving on to the waning. But you already know. I already went into the Tau in the Enemies of the Imperium. I just gave you their origins because I did not do that. Sorry. Now the waning, it happened from the 38th millennium to the 41st millennium, and due to the Redemption Crusades, star systems had fallen to Orc invasion. Remember all those crusades that they were doing in the Age of Redemption? Well, it came back to bite them in the ass.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. And it's because of this, the Orc invasions, chaos, and sheer rebellion. Some worlds were turned over to be ruled by the Space Marines to bring control to lawless regions. Having purged 400 worlds, the survival of the Abyssal Crusades. Remember the Abyssal Crusades? They came back. But you know what sucks about it? You're gonna fucking hate this. However, the saint that sent them on there to do all that is now seen as a false idol, and they aren't rewarded. This thing called the Grim Harvest was an armada of misformed space hulks that drifted to Terra. These are the people of something called the Lost Crusade. The Lost Crusade was like a bunch of, you know how it sucks to be in the Imperium, and if you're a normal person.
It sucks to be everywhere in this
Well,
universe
sometimes these bands will get together and they'll call themselves the Space Pirates or Rogue Traders. Rogue Traders is kind of sort of cool to be, you know, you're just a space pirate if you have your own ship, and they live in dead solar systems, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they like kind of hide from the Imperium, but kind of not. You know, they get like, because you know there are like a lot of battles and shit. Sometimes there'll be like fleets of ships just destroyed but left, but they will have valuable materials on them, more likely than not. So they go there and then they like and then they just trade with Imperium or whoever. They work mostly for themselves, mostly for the Imperium, if that makes any sense. Kind of business pleasure kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Like actual pirates.
Kind of like our government now.
I have a question. Can I borrow this?
Go nuts. Oh yeah, I kind of just sit on that. But now back to the thing. Blah blah blah. Yeah, they were rewarded. That sucks. The Inquisition covered up those misinformed dudes coming back. So it sucks to be them. Now, Redemption Crusades were many heroes emerging from subunits like Primarchs. Like they weren't Primarchs, but they were really kick ass. You know, they were like, oh, maybe they're kind of sort of leaders. You know, maybe they can lead us instead of the Primarch that was supposed to. So that's what. And then they pushed. These guys push Imperial borders further than they've ever been in 500 years, and then they vanished without a trace. They were declared Imperial Saints after the fact. The Gothic Wars started in the Gothic sector after it was cut off from Imperial communications by the warp storms. It was consisted of hundreds of planetary invasions and naval battles for years, only ended when Imperial reinforcements drove the Chaos Legions into the warp. However, they killed billions and made off with 2 weapons of mass destruction. The Manchurian Crusade was a Lord Commander gathered the greatest human army in the galaxy. He then reconquered thousands of worlds and helped worlds out of the Imperium's reach. When he died, the worlds went right into rivalry and civil war, which ended thanks to 100 Space Marines. Ooh, but this really fucked up thing called the Tears of the Emperor happened. Cat.
Does the war ever stop?
No.
Cool.
The Tears.
Valid question.
Yeah, valid question. I'll give you a valid question. Simple answer. Now, the Tears of the Emperor. No, everybody in the entire universe got a vision of the Emperor's skeleton on the throne, on the golden throne, crying. And it's believed that he's crying over the blights of humanity that are soon to come.
Oh.
And then this thing called the Great. You remember the Necrons, the Terminators?
Does this mean the Emperor's dead then?
Grab it back into the Great Awakening in the 41st millennium. Now, the Necrons have awoken at this point. Some of their tomb worlds had life on them, which they then devastated and took their souls. They met the Imperium when the Imperium met the Tau. Exterminatus was used, but more kept waking up across the universe. Some tomb worlds were destroyed or malfunctioned, some by failure, some by the Eldar, because, you know, the Eldar don't like the Necrons.
Fuck them Necrons. Sorry.
Gonna move on from that. I'll let casual racism slide.
So sorry. I am just laugh happy that you heard me didn't like someone.
Okay. Let's just move on from that. Cast Jesus Christ. But they have been waking up a little at a time. The Necrons aren't fully at power, and the waking of Necrons is detectable by the amount of power is used to wake them up. Because, you know, they're robots. They're Terminators. They have no physical bodies, so they need to be woken up by, like, huge amounts of power.
More!
Now, I'm going to get into the time of ending. Now, to give you guys a brief description of the time of ending, before I get into the entirety of it is that the time of ending was bad for the Imperium. Like, it was humanity on the brink because, like, just to give you context, from like this page, this entire page, from this page to this entire page to right there is all bad. All the bad shit that happened. This is
This
bullet
thing
points.
happens bad, and then this thing happens, which may bring some bad.
Oh.
This is bad. That's bad. That's bad. It's all bad.
Yeah, pretty much. Did his homework. Gold star. Meet me after class. Now, it's like the threats to the Imperium grew and humanity on the brink. The Imperium was under siege at every corner. Secession, rebellion, chaos, along with all their enemies, were all around them. People believed that this was punishment for straying from the Emperor's guidance. Desperate messages came from the warp, from like psychers and shit, begging for help. All of them were for help, but the Space Marines were spread thin across the galaxy. Attacks on the Imperium grew, and something was brewing in the warp. The Imperium fought the Tau, and a stalemate ensued. The Imperium left to deal with the Tyranids and began negotiations with the Tau. Trade agreements were made, but then the Imperium attacked the Tau, and another stalemate ensued. The time of ending earned its name when a seer proclaimed the approach of humanity's end. He was then executed for heresy.
Oh, great.
But his signal was picked up by other psychers in the warp. Now, I'm about to go in on everything bad that happened during this time, too,
The Imperium.
and just everywhere in general. Like,
Oh, lovely. Please, proceed.
yeah, you remember when I said just remember when I said that it sucked to be an imperial citizen, but billions of people die on a whim, trillions sometimes, with just star systems just gone.
Wow.
You can just be chilling, just farming or for the Imperium, or just doing whatever, and then you're gone.
You're like, oh yeah, these are lovely apples. Ah! And then you're gone.
Yep. Yep. All right, now, whew.
I mean, at least it's a quick death.
Depends.
Depends.
Now, in the 41st millennium, the Tyranids arrived in the galaxy and the Tyrannic Wars began. A high fleet behemoth tore through the star systems and was a hard for the greatest marine chapter. The fleet was defeated, but unease grew in the Imperium. The Blood Star campaign was when a star turned blood red and brought demonic entities activity. It claimed untold lives and high-ranking Imperial lives as well. Great exodus occurred when a swirling phenomenon appeared alongside 6 Eldar craft worlds. Before the Imperium could do anything, all prime suns in 60 light years were extinguished, and the Eldar vanished afterwards. The Imperium tried to relocate as many as possible to other star systems. It is the largest rescue mission in the Imperium. 12% of the population and 32% of the heavy industry were safely moved. The Ring of Dead Planets is now known as Dead Hinge and is home to pirates. The zombie plague appeared during this time.
That sounds
Zombie
like-
play.
That sounds like a place that pirates would hang out. Dead Hinge.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, but zombies were real in the Imperium. Yeah, thank you, Nurgle.
But so, like, hold on. What
Zom-
kind of zombies are we talking about?
They're zombies.
No. Are we talking like?
I don't know.
Night of the
They're not-
Living Dead zombies or original zombies?
They're
Exactly.
Warhammer zombies, to give you people context. Think
Oh,
about
Tell
it.
me anything.
Oh my
Please
God.
explain,
I
Great
can't-
Voodoo Master.
I can't. It just says zombie plague. The zombie plague was big and it was bad. It's mentioned several times during this time. I'll just give you, if it was mentioned several times in the time of ending, I'm pretty sure it was pretty bad. Just my thoughts,
Okay.
if that makes sense. If
Sure.
it doesn't, please ask questions again. Now, many stations and listening posts were attacked by the Eldar, which left the Imperium vulnerable for decades. A battle between the Necrons, the Eldar, and the Blood Angels transpired. A War Master attempted to find an artifact, but was beaten back by Eldar Craftworld. A planet revolted against the Imperium, and they took over until the Space Marines grabbed what little life they could and performed exterminatus. The Saint Cecilia massacre happened when a Fury Titan Legion fell to chaos. It took the weapons that they had in defense forces before making a getaway. An Imperial world is subjected to an event known as the Blood Tide. An evil beast broke from the warp and unleashed a tide of gore that corrupted everything it touched. Each death lured more daemons to the mortal world as the barrier between the material universe and the warp broke.
Oh, wow.
The Grey Knights eventually sorted it out, but at a great cost. The beast was cast back into the warp, and the daemons were banished. The largest armored assault occurred against the renegade Titan Legion. Crusade of Wrath inflicted heavy losses to the Word Bearers, Traitor Legion, and won back several star systems lost to the warp. Long Midnight was an attack by the Eldar in pitch black until the Navy arrived. The fortress convent called Sanctuary 101 was destroyed along with the Battle Sisters within. During an attack by Necrons, Imperium started to take the Necrons seriously at this point. The Imperium, the same year, saw a Tyranid Hive fleet go in the same direction as the Tau and gave no warning. Because, they don't like the Tau. The Badab Wars. The Badab War chapter master refused to give up his chapter's gene seed, because, that's how they make their warriors. They clone and clone and clone. Yeah, he refused that, and then he announced that he was succeeding from the Imperium, and the Badab War ensued. He eventually lost, and his soldiers became heretic Astartes. Orc Wog activity is detected, and troops were deployed to handle it. Disciples of a sorcerer steal books to try to reverse a curse. Disciples of Eldar pirates attack black ships and capture a troop ship and destroy the ships. Those black ships are very important, people. Remember, because this is how they prop up.
They're the ones that get sacrificed.
Yeah, for the greater good, because of the lighthouse that lets you see in the warp. Eldar pirates. A Necron world engine is revealed and destroyed, but it takes out an entire Space Marine chapter. Chaos Marines slaughter a world and claim it as their own. An Inquisitor commands 5 companies of Space Wolves to attempt to reclaim 9 Hollow Worlds, while the Imperium is stunned by how fast this thing called the Red Chorus are expanding. The Second War of Armageddon began when the most powerful orc boss, Glasgow, remember Glasgow? Powerful orc?
Yeah.
He formed a Wog that met its match on a hive world, which had strong strategic importance. They were defeated by Space Marines led by Commissar Yarick, and he vowed to return one day. The Blade of the Eternity was spotted and replaced with a infamous thing called a Death Guard ship. The zombie plague spread far and wide. A warp storm made every person in the galaxy have a nightmare. It killed psychers and created rifts between the warp and reality. This thing called a Bloodthirster appeared on the Cadian shock troops fortress world and made the planet mad with berserk rage. It is now a quarantine zone.
Oh, wow.
Orcs tried to take a forge world and failed, but left much damage. An accidental missile went off and destroyed a monastery. So the chapter on the monastery took a planet just because they could, because fuck them. Eldar forces attacked Cadian gate holdings and were utterly defeated.
So sorry.
The Ultramarines were crush a rebellion only to find themselves fighting a Tyranid hive fleet. The Third Tyrannic War started when the Tyranids struck the Imperium's underbelly below the galaxy plane and saw much destruction. Planets, they got them underneath. They never see it coming.
Oh, okay.
I don't understand how that works, but I guess it did. Glasgow returned, but was thwarted when he teleports right into a band of Space Marines who expected his return. Ultramarines made a stand against the one tendril of the Hive fleets and won by using a plague bomb. However, it did nothing to the rest of the rampaging fleet. Glasgow came face to face with Commissar Yarick. Yarick was captured by the orcs, but was released because he was planning on fighting Armageddon again and wanted a good fight when he returned.
Little green boys.
Yeah. You know how orcs be. They're like, we want to fight. We don't give a shit if we win or not.
Wog!
The Dark Angels battled Chaos Astartes for an artifact the Chaos Marines thought would get rid of the screams of their victims. Yeah, because Chaos Marines hear the victims' screams because, you know, Chaos be fucking people over like that.
Yeah, makes sense. Why did you go there?
The light of the Golden Throne grew dimmer. Some think it's due to the less sacrifices. Others think it has to do with the weakening of the Emperor. Dark Eldar crippled Navy base, leaving star systems vulnerable. The Red Corsairs launched a major attack, bringing many star systems under siege of Chaos. Chaos Lord now whittled the military power. I'm just reading gibberish. This is gibberish. The Great Awakening occurred when a ripple of psychic energy passed through the Imperium and awakened latent psychers, resulting in localized rifts, and 1,000 worlds were lost due to demonic incursions. The Ultramarines liberated a star system from the Tau, but the system next to them joined at the same time. Like, they kind of just, like, they were born, and then the other one was just, like, joined them. So it kind of sucked for them. It's just like, well, I feel like wasted our time. The devastation of Adoris Belt, wherever that is, occurred when the Eldar destroyed worlds, so the Tyranids couldn't get crucial biomatter. Many orc were held, but were human. I'm sorry, I got jambled again. Many, like, they fought the orcs on the Tyranids fought the orcs because, you know, they love fighting. So the orcs and the Tyranids are kind of just like, the orcs really like fighting the Tyranids because there's so many of them that the orcs can just massacre.
The Tyranids like fighting the orcs.
The Tyranids don't give a shit.
Oh, okay.
It's more food.
Uh,
Armies of endless
Destruction.
Yes.
Yeah. Night of 1,000 Rebellions. Uprising and discord struck many Imperial worlds due to anarchy caused by secret cults and instigators. Contact was also lost to Terra. The amount of psychic pleas for help started to drive the recipients insane. Siege of the Fenris system was an attack that drew the Space Wolves back to defend their homeworld. It was a ruse by Zeech to make the Dark Angels think the Wolves had fallen to chaos. The Wolves, Angels, and Grey Knights were on their last legs until they were saved by an invasion. Psychic, yeah, they were just saved by something by an invasion that had driven back, but its purpose was achieved. Like they kind of lost, but like they had a purpose. Like they tried to take over something, but they lost, but their goal was achieved. If that makes any sense. It's kind of like America now. Like
Failing successfully.
yeah, like was the Iraq War really about freedom? I don't know. Depends on who you ask. Or maybe we made them sell their oil back to us cheaper. Yeah. No, that was about drugs, but you think what you want to think.
I will.
Blood Angels. The Blood Angels had to delay what was going on with the Tyranids' arrival because the Tyranids went to the Blood Angel homeworld, and they stopped everything they were doing and went there. The 13th Black Crusade was launched out of the Eye of Terror with the intention to steal the fortress world of Cadia. If they won, they could assault the heart of the Imperium. The Chaos Forces threw everything, at the gate enemies, old and new. The Imperium was forced to mobilize the largest military force since the Horus Heresy. This led to the Imperium's victory and trapped the Chaos armies on a planet. The Tyranids, however, were on the horizon. The Tyrannic Wars happened. And guess what the Tyrannic Wars are?
Wars of Tyranny.
Correct.
Great.
Being raised, you demand.
You asked!
Didn't raise your hand. Where's that damn hand?
You said we had to raise hands to ask questions, not give answers.
You like school. I'm a teacher.
Oh, so it's just basically up to your whim. Gotcha.
Pretty much, yeah. Okay, the Tyrannic Wars. Now, on to the war. Yeah, you know what the Tyrannic Wars are, right? I mean, now, there's this thing called the War in the Eastern Fringe, which happened in the 41st millennia. The Tau tried to expand during the 13th Black Crusade, but exterminators changed their minds. Guilliman awakens. Remember Guilliman? Robert Guilliman? Well, during a crusade, he, disappeared or something. Him and several other Marines disappeared. And then, or put into stasis or something. But a Mechanicus person made a deal with the Eldar to bring him back, and yeah, that was pretty cool.
I thought the Mechanicus hated everybody that was made of flesh.
No, they work with
Oh, okay.
the Imperium, kind of, sort of ish. But yeah, Robert Guilliman, a very, very good leader to the Imperium, before he disappeared, came back.
Surprised the elves gave him back.
Yeah, during the Black Crusade, and when he woke up, he immediately dove into battle. He was just like, oh shit. Yep.
Once a crusader,
Always a crusader.
Upon awakening, because a Chaos Marine didn't want. There was a battle going on because a Chaos Marine absolutely did not want him to be awakened, because the Chaos knew exactly what was going to happen if somebody so powerful to the Imperium. Yeah, so that's how that went. And what happened? And then he went back to Terra because he wanted to talk to the Emperor.
Went back to Terra.
Yeah.
Talked to the Emperor.
Yeah, talked to the Emperor, and then and then nobody knows what happened when Robert Guilliman came back. Yeah, he came back, but nobody knows what happened on Terra. But when he came back from Terra, he was made the Lord Commander of Terra. Of the Imperium, not just Terra. Just he was in charge of the Lord. He was a Lord Commander. And there's this thing called Era Indomitus. In the wake of the Black Crusade, reality tore itself apart in the eastern fringe in the galactic west. From it came a warp storm so big one hasn't been seen since the Age of Strife. Remember the Age of Strife and how bad that was? Yeah, that came back.
Wow.
Cutting off the galactic north entirely from Terra. For a time, war travel proved impossible. Worlds soon fell to chaos and slaughter. The Grey Rift spread across systems, robbing the ability to talk to Terra. The Imperium of Man's was cut in half, and those who could talk to Terra, those who couldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty bad times. And then the Psychic Awakening happened. It drastically increased the number of Psychers and enhanced already existing Psychers' abilities in the wake of the birth of the Great Rift. It enhanced the power and the duration of the demonic incursions and boosted Eldar psychic abilities. It both helped and hindered the 13th Black Crusade and affected every faction of the galaxy. This was a big thing. I was just psychics awakening. Because remember how the Imperium doesn't like how the Emperor didn't like psychics? Well, it was because when they were so troublesome, and because if somebody can fucking turn an entire planet to mush with their brain, who was that powerful, then that person you don't want to just awake and then kill important people. So, but that's what happened across the galaxy. Not just because occasionally a psyker would psychers were around, but they would just find them on different planets. Well, these were psychers everywhere.
Psychers.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad time, and everybody was getting psychers. The Tau, the Tyranids, the Orcs, just everybody.
Wow.
What are the orc suckers' names?
I don't know.
They're called the Weird Boys.
The Weird Boys.
Really? Yes.
I forgot.
Yes.
Brain Boys, Weird Boys. They just got
Everyone is called a boy.
It's very original.
We them boys.
the battle.
Those are the drunk boys.
The Battle of Lionsgate. Following the birth of the Great Rift, Khorne attempted to take Terra to prove his superiority. You remember Khorne, the god of blood and shit? Yeah. He was just like, humanity ain't shit right now, so I'm going to try to take over. But then he was swiftly, put in his place, and Robert Guilliman and the forces of Terra fought Khorne, and they defeated him, but were shaken that something like that could be attempted on Terra. Because Terra is the most heavily guarded place on Earth, in the galaxy.
I would imagine it.
Yeah, I mean, shit your mouth. But yeah, it's heavily guarded. It's the most heavily guarded thing in the entire universe, simply because the Emperor is there, and an attack was made there. That is bad for Imperium, spirits. It was, holy shit.
Oh my god. Oh my emperor.
And then, but Khorne, when he was defeated, he went back and he was really pissed off that he lost. He was like, well, god damn it. Well, me, damn it. And then a bunch of in Dotoma's crusade happened from the 41st millennium to the present. Robert Guilliman gathered a new imperial armada called the Indomitus Crusade, the largest concentration of military since the Great Crusade. He used the Force to aid planets, break sieges, and get rid of chaos and aliens. This brought back up the spirits of the Imperium. He then used them to aid against Nurgle in this thing called the Plague Wars. Devastation of Baal. There's a question mark next to this one instead of present, because the other one was present, 41st millennium to present, 41st, question mark. Don't know what that means. Could be bad, could be a mystery. After sacrificing the shield worlds they had to fight off the Xenos, the Baal planet came under the attack of the Tyranids. Their fleet was so big that even with a lot of the losses that they took, their ships were covering the sky. Much help was sent to help Baal, but still wasn't enough. The Tyranids made a planet fall on Baal and its 2 moons, which caused a great loss. Doom was on the minds of the remaining few. The Great Rift opened, and no further attacks came from the Tyranids. However, the Marines on Baal's moons were dead. On the surface, the Tyranids tried to contact their ships, their hive ships, only to find Guilliman's ships. Yeah, Guilliman came and helped out. He then defeated them and brought troops to refill the lost chapter's ranks. It's theorized that the Blood Angels took care of the Leviathan because a pile of Tyranid skulls was found. We got time.
Do we?
Yes. And then this thing called the War of the Beasts happened in the 42nd millennium. Chaos forces in Xenos attack an important stable pass through the Great Rift. Though the invasion was thwarted, it's still under siege to this day. Taladus War. A war of faith fought between Chaos and the Imperium to protect the Shrine World. Though the primary target and all the systems worlds faced a large-scale assault, the Wordbearers sought to convert humanity to chaos. This was all just one campaign by Chaos to just get people to worship the gods. The attack was to prove how strong Chaos is, and doing it to an important world. This war happened on many fronts. Here are the fronts. I'll just tell you. On Benediction, Chaos nearly seized control of a cathedral city complex. The Loyalists were saved by the Psychic Awakening. Remember when that happened?
Yes.
Which made their combined faith summon Imperial Dead. It surrounded a psychic shield around them and stopped the grip of demons, allowing the Salamanders to defeat them. I can't say that. On the help of the Black Templar drove the Soul Harvesters back. In the void, the White Scars led the Imperium to battle. Go Imperium. The Plague Wars, 42nd millennium, were an attempt by Nurgle to expand his realm into real space. The war started after the Great Rift, then Robert defeated them. And then the Fourth Tyrannic War happened, the largest Leviathan encountered yet. And that is all of that, people.
Woo!
Yes.
Finally!
And then, but here's the thing. You guys are going to fucking hate me for this. But this is all can be taken with a grain of salt because everything I've just went through has been either rewritten, has been done, has been added to, or just like random. Yeah.
Part 3, people, let's do it!
But yeah, guys, you have to understand it's just like the Horus Heresy was rewritten from the time of the so-called break that we went on. Yeah, yes, certain aspects were rewritten of this, within the months that we've been doing this.
Oh, okay.
It's only been.
So it's like recently it's been rewritten.
Well, yeah. Now, I'm going to get into the gameplay of Warhammer. Now, I'm going to explain it poorly, because you have to play with, 4 books and shit. It's just, telling you, what your army does, and this, and that, and that, and this.
That is why I do not get into it.
Yeah. But I will give you important things about it. The gameplay is missions, armies, units, data sheets, battlefields, measurements, and dice. Now, missions outline how to create battlefields and deploy troops. Also tells you special rules and any info you need while playing. Armies. Each player uses miniatures. Everything has a value that tells you how powerful your army is. Power ratings and missions tell you how large your army can be. Units. An assortment or singular model used for attack they need to be 2 inches apart. Data sheets, guides that tell you how to use your models. Battlefields, rectangular to fit on tabletop spaces, able to add terrain. Measurements. Now this is where it gets tricky. You have to play Warhammer with a tape measure.
Why?
What?
Yeah, because it's gotta be you gotta measure how far your pieces are from each other. Because they gotta be however far away from each other. What's this?
Which system?
Well, I mean, tape measures are metric. They're all.
Yeah.
Oh no.
The only right.
Yeah, you see the point. You gotta measure your shit. It's just I don't understand how people. I don't like fucking using 6 dice when I play games, let alone fucking having to actually do math. And yeah, my 18 Space Marines are this far apart from each other.
On your campaign of Warhammer.
And then we get on to dice, used to see if a target hits its mark, how devastating an explosion is, and morale. And these figurines, these starter sets, can be from $60 to $400.
Jesus
Okay.
Christ.
Another expensive hobby to stay away from.
They're
We've only got 3 now.
and then separate, and they're separate. You can buy separate, really cool pieces, models, for $30 maybe. $30 maybe, kinda, if you're lucky. Really cool, Primarchs that you want, or something. But then there are pieces that are insanely overpriced. They're $10,000.
What the fuck?
Who fucking does
plays
that?
this game? Why?
Yeah.
Why does anyone play this game?
It's a meme. It's just try Warhammer. It's expensive as fuck.
No, I'm really confused why anyone plays it.
It's fun, Cass. It's fun.
It's fun to measure how fucking far your pieces are from each other. It's fun to empty your bank account on this little tiny plastic figurine.
It's like asking why cram school exists. It's fun. That's why. Alright, now let me explain the data sheets and how they look. Now you have your character. You have M for movement, BS for ballistic stat, WS for weapon skill, S for strength, T for toughness, A for attacks, LD for leadership, SV for armor. You have your weapon. You have your weapon, the range of the weapon, the type of weapon, and the abilities that are given to you because of the weapon. Like if you have the chain weapon, or if you have like a bolter or this or that, it tells you your range, tells you what type of bolter it is, it tells you how far you can shoot it or some shit. And then you have cool war gear and abilities, like what your character does. Like if it's a Primarch or something, you can shoot lava from his hands, or has laser feet or something. I don't know. I don't play it.
Bastion can turn himself into a minigun.
All right, so let me get into the miscellaneous of the Warhammer shit. Let me get into why you shouldn't make Warhammer fan projects.
Great.
Now, here's the thing about Games Workshop is they're fucking assholes.
Do they hate their fans?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Very, very much. Let me tell you about this amazing fan project.
Also hates their fans.
Let me tell you about this amazing fan project called the Astartes. This guy, he like for no reason at all, he just made this amazing fan animation of Astartes chapter doing like a mission or something. And it was amazing fan project. At the time put many fan projects to shame of just like how it just showed people how like dedicated you are to a fandom type shit. It reawakened like people
Yeah, probably like hours of work
Yeah.
and like sleepless
Yeah,
nights.
putting so much effort into it. And it got millions and millions of views, and people loved it. And you know what? And you know what Games Workshop did? They signed the guys. They signed the guy on to do shit. And then you know what they did? They took the video down.
Wow.
They took all of it down. It's still available. You can still watch it. But they took it down almost immediately. And they pay this man to do nothing. He has done nothing since then. There's been like a show, animated show maybe that he was a part of, I think.
Yeah.
But that was
It's ambiguous whether or not he was a part of it.
yeah, Ryan, I agree with it's ambiguous. But they don't tell. They've just been gotten greedy over the years because there's this man I met who was selling me board games, and I talked to him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, man, Games Workshop, yeah, I know how shitty they are. I took this really cool picture of this model figurine. You know what they did? What Games Workshop did? They took the photo and didn't tell me or credit me for it.
Wow.
Oh, and they put it in like a
Wow.
Yeah,
in one of their work.
yeah,
I mean, you could technically sue them for that.
no.
Yeah.
No, because to them, everything that you're using, they don't care. They made it, so they own it. That's how they see it.
Dickhead.
Yeah, like this here is gonna get immediately demonetized. This video, like, not
You
the,
listening, Game Workshops? Go fuck yourself.
no, but yeah, this video is gonna be gonna come under copyright claim like almost immediately when it goes up. Like that's why I'm not gonna use any artwork. That's why I haven't been using any artwork or anything like that. That's why I'm not gonna add any in because they will immediately take that shit down.
Yeah.
That's pretty much why I'm just talking about it and just like having the board and have no drawings at all because I wanted to draw cool shit, but they will.
No, you can't do that.
Yeah, like I'd have to just go over it, and like I said, you shouldn't do this. I did this, and I will make no money from it, but I will put cool people on, like creators I like. I'll put their Patreons and shit and their Twitters in the description because somebody should get something for this. Cause
Why are we not cool?
well, we're not gonna make any money from this, Jason.
Put my links in the description.
No.
I don't have any, so.
Just some really cool artists you should check out. You'll just check them out. You're gonna love them. They're pretty cool.
We're trying to plug our TikTok we made.
Anywho, now on to books and comic books. Now all of this was most if not all of it came from like books that have been made because like the Horus Heresy was a book series and something called the Fall of Cadian was a book series and several other things. Yeah, it's just like because Games Workshop, the Black Library, remember also an actual place in Warhammer.
Yeah.
in a publishing company. They came out with some pretty kick-ass books. So yeah, that's what I was telling. And then the video games, they do come out with some pretty cool video games.
I
Like
think I've seen one.
yeah, Bullgun. Yeah, I played Bullgun. It was like a kind of like a throwback to like old 50 to old like
Throwback.
targeting.
With 40K.
Yeah, Doom with 40k. that's
Okay,
pretty
yeah.
legit.
I thought I saw Warhammer before.
They had some pretty cool sayings in there. It was like the Emperor's hand will touch you, you will not survive.
His skeleton hang up.
And then, yeah, what would happen to you in Warhammer? You know what would happen? You know what would happen to all of us if we went? If all of us right now went into the Warhammer universe, we would immediately die because psychers would blow our fucking heads off almost immediately. Or if we're lucky,
Just
if in, yeah, because there's so much psychic shit going on in Warhammer that's just how it would be.
Does anybody survive?
And if we somehow
What am I to do, honestly?
And if we somehow made it, some of us were okay, kinda, then we would have to, with all the knowledge we knew about Warhammer now, they just make us like scribes or something, like put a typewriter in your mouth and then just like you churn out all the information you knew about Warhammer. And then this book itself that I've been making, the book itself that I've been making with all my notes in it, if this was transported into the Warhammer universe, this would be seen as like a secret text. From the
Emperor.
it'd be called like the text of Imarier or something, or the sacred text of the Imperium's knowledge or some shit. And
The secret text of everything and why it sucks.
yeah, and some cool ass drawings of characters that I made. And then let me get on to random Warhammer stories. Now there's some pretty cool like random. There's not just like war. I mean it is, but there's some cool Warhammer stories. Like this is one story about like this these orcs that were getting attacked, and then they're just like they had no more ammo or something, and then they were just like shield, and they were getting shielded. They were getting fired on, and they're just like tank. All of them around them were saying,
MIT. You're doing this to annoy me, aren't you?
yes. Yeah, and then there's another cool story where this one woman, she went into this labyrinth of some kind where nobody made it out at all, and then because you had to answer a riddle or something, and then there's just like, who made the whatever universe? And then you know what the woman said? Games Workshop. And then she just went through.
Well, I mean, isn't that technically the correct answer?
Yeah, but but it's just like because nobody made it back. Nobody made it through at all. But it's just the fourth wall break. It was a fourth wall break.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh shit.
Whoa.
But Warhammer doesn't do that often. I don't think that they.
Or maybe it's like subliminally, they don't just like outward come out with it.
Yeah, but and then there's also this really cool story of like these guys who can steal identities, and then they stole this like Primarch's identity, and they all thought they were this Primarch, so that was like a funny turn of events. And then they can also shapeshift, so then this Inquisitor came, and he fucking just he had the Inquisitor's face, and then the Inquisitor shot from behind, and then stole the Inquisitor's robes and just took his identity. Just cool shit like that. Let me get into the editions of Warhammer.
Before you do that, I have a question. Are you just gonna skip over the point that says Nazi argument?
We already talked about it.
Oh, that's it. Oh.
Think about it, how many times we talked about it.
We talked about it many times.
Yeah.
He just wants to talk about it more.
Yeah, to be honest.
We already talked about it. The Imperium is... And also people on the internet, they're like pissed off about it. A small group of people are just like, well, that's pretty fucked up. That the Imperium...
Everything in this universe is fucked up
I got
in one way or
neighbors.
another.
Calm down.
Okay, continue with the book report.
But yeah. What was I saying?
The edition.
Oh yeah. Just the edition. It's a board game mostly. First and foremost, Warhammer is a board game, and the editions, which came out many years apart from each other, like the first edition, like they vary like in difference. Like how many models came with it, how many like what the rules were. Like the first edition was a single hardback of game rules, more like a role-playing game, you know. The second edition was more colorful and not really that light because it was more seen for kids. It was like more marketed for kids, and it had a new rule book.
When did this original version of the game came out?
I think it was the 80s. 80s?
Yeah, I think mid-80s.
Yeah, mid-80s. Yeah.
Damn.
The 30-year-old versions could not appeal to the
very
colorful.
And then with this new one, a new rule book and models were made. Lots of templates, and this thing called White Dwarf rules were made. There's just like a set rule. Softback, Volume 3, Edition 3 was a softback rule book. Their models were more plastic. This was the intro to the Tau. But they did have simple rules. Same rules. These rules are for the next like 4 editions. There are 9 editions of Warhammer. But these rules are mostly there. Number 4 was a hard rule book. Marines were like Marines fight Tyranids. And you can give your army like a planet of origin.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, something cool like that.
That's nice.
And then Edition 5 came out in 2008. There were more models. Half the factions had to use the old rules, which pissed off a lot of the fans at this point, because they had to use like the White Dwarf rules for the second edition, which they were not happy about. Yeah, and then in 2012 was the shortest edition. Went heavy on the dark aspect. Had more rules and cheats. In the 7th edition in 2014, stopped putting author names on the shit because it's war. Because it's Games Workshop. They really started fucking people over at this point, like creatively.
Yeah.
Like how you'd be like a company, like you did something cool, and maybe a company would like shout you out. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Not Games Workshop. Don't expect that with Games Workshop. They will not do it. They will.
Push you into the dirt.
They will. Yes. No.
It's like a
2000.
toddler that sees you playing with the toy, and they're like, "I want it." And they take it and push it away. Push you away and just go.
Shove their face in the mud.
Yeah. But 7th edition in 2014. They stopped. Yeah. They also had nicer models. Went more into plastic models. Rule updates to factions and ultimate starter sets. This is where like the expensive starter sets started coming into play. 2017 rulebook. They had a rulebook and bigger sets, another rules reset, and easiest to learn special rules, shit like that. And then the 9th edition in 2021 had slight rules update, new set of starters, boxes, structures, and like had like pretty cool structural campaigns. So yeah, that's it for Warhammer. Yeah.
Wow.
Here's the thing I forgot to mention. If anybody was confused about the hierarchy of the Imperium, like the factions and shit, you can look at that. And then yeah, that's any underlying questions. Like anybody got any questions?
Are there any good guys in this whole thing?
The salamanders.
Yeah, the salamanders.
Okay,
kinda.
I didn't, because, well, earlier when we talked about it, I said, oh, yay, and then you were like, well, not really, so it's just...
They're still a part of the Imperium. I mean,
So the summary of this whole thing is everything fucking sucks. The Imperium is the reincarnation of the Third Reich, and the salamanders are kind of cool.
Yeah, virtually it. Yeah.
And the Plague of Zombies.
Ooh! I forgot to talk about these cool guys called the Death Corps of Krieg, though. Dude, the Death Corps of Krieg are suicide bombers, pretty much. They will throw every single thing they have at you. Like they do unnecessary shit for the most unnecessary things. Like they'll be like, oh man, we left I left my wallet on that death hill over there, covered by Necrons. Then the Death Corps will be like, I got it, Commander. And like, no man, that's cool. They will throw everything that they have at you because this like civil war happened on a planet. Jesus. But a civil war happened on a planet called Krieg, and one of their leader, he activated a nuclear bomb of some sort on their planet, and then because he didn't want the Imperium to, he didn't want them to fuck over the Imperium because he knew how like valuable they were. But he was also disappointed in them, so he was just like, man, my people fucked over the Imperium. This is bad.
I'm not mad. I'm just
Disappointed.
So yeah, he nuked his own planet when he was on it. So now it's a horrible place, but really cool soldiers come from there. Well, not really cool. They're like they're really God. What's
Word it out.
no, not worried. What's that word? They're something where it's like
Inverts? Mutants?
yeah. They also got cool masks, like World War One masks. But what's that word? I can't think about it. Fuck.
Describe it.
Like where we really want to do something, you know, like energetic kind of.
ecstatic.
Yeah, they're really ecstatic about doing shit for the Imperium.
Oh, so they're teachers' pets is what you're
Yeah,
telling me.
pretty much.
Fuck them bitches.
They
I'll feed
will
the dog.
they will die for the in the Imperium's name. You will remember the Death Corps of Krieg. That was why they were mostly named. And yeah, that's virtually. Anybody else got any other questions? Anybody? Any questions, comments?
No.
All right. Well, yeah, that's it.
Yay! Thank you, Professor
All right.
Bill.
Now, please feel free to not like and subscribe.
Because if you do, it'll all go to shit.
Do it.
All right, let's do this team. But one more thing. Thank you for watching. This took a very long time. All right, R. Kelly in jail. Let's go.